powerless against a system designed to break families apart? Do you demand answers, truth, and justice when it comes to child protective services? Then it's time to shatter the silence and tune in to the #1 CPS podcast that speaks the harsh truth. Tiff and the Punisher. We're here to expose what they don't want you to know, to give a voice to the voiceless, and to empower you with the information you need to fight back. Join us live Monday through Friday at 7:45 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/@abolishcps. Every Thursday, we bring in a special guest host, the one and only Angry Citizen, to dive even deeper into the issues that matter most. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. We're creating a new wave, a community demanding accountability and transparency from CPS. But we don't just talk about the problems, we offer solutions. Introducing the CPS Punisher app, the educator they didn't want you to find. Available at www.thecpspunisher.com. This revolutionary tool is a must-have for anyone involved with CPS cases. It helps you track and analyze every detail, giving you the upper hand and the knowledge to navigate this complex system. Don't walk into your next CPS interaction unprepared. Arm yourself with the truth. Arm yourself with knowledge, and arm yourself with the CPS Punisher. Join the fight, get informed, and become part of the new wave. Tiff and the Punisher, the truth they can't silence. Tune in tonight.
Superhero Hammering Hank on his return episode bring up newly discovered ADA documents and supporters to help you get the rights you are entitled to even the field against anyone that's putting you down because you're different. Tonight's special guest is the Probate Trap, the team that holds a lot of firepower against the corruption in this country. Don't miss out on Luann Fleming, Robin Austin, as they discuss with Hammering Hank the ADA and how the courts are stealing our freedoms. This is one for the books. Catch it at 8 Eastern tonight.
Equal and the same. Special guest on the line, shining light on the probate trap, where families lose more than they gain. Time to break the cycle. To the courtroom where the records never lie. Wheels in the states tangled up, watching fortunes die. Probate trap, waiting fees, stacking high. Delays and drama public for the world to spy. Special guests dropping knowledge, research on the game. Uncovering pitfalls, calling out the shame. Interstate succession, no plan in place. Families fractured, fighting for their space. From hidden assets to contested claims. The system profits while the heirs lose names. Equal rights on paper, but the trap don't play the same. Podcast exposed and breaking through the flame. We rise above the trap. Probate pitfalls, we ain't falling back. Special guest on the mic, truth in every line. Equal and the same, protecting what's mine. No more hidden costs, no more endless wait. Plan ahead or face the probate fade. Equal and the same. Break the probate trap. Guest researcher in the building, files from the past. Trusts and deeds, the secrets that can last. Avoid the trap with living trusts and more. Beneficiary designations walking through the door. Fiduciary duties, twisted conflicts in the air. Elder exploitation lurking, handle with care. From generation wealth to the ones left behind. Podcast conversations opening minds. Equal protection, but the court don't see it through. Special episode warning me and you. Research heavy facts that cut like steel. Equal and the same, keeping it real. What you leave behind shouldn't vanish in the fight. Paper trails and lawyers draining out the light. Knowledge is the armor, planning is the key. Don't let the trap define your legacy. Equal and the same. We rise above the trap. Probate pitfalls, we ain't falling back. Special guests on the mic, truth in every line. Equal and the same, protecting what's mine. No more hidden costs, no more endless wait. Plan ahead or face the probate fade. Equal and the same. Break the probate trap. Equal and the same. Special guest in the court of the damned. Probate trap. They vultures in the road. Probate court, a slaughterhouse, dissecting what you owe. Wills get twisted, estates get ripped. Lawyers feast while heirs get stripped. Special guests dropping bombs on the research files, exposing the machine that's been corrupt for miles. Intestate, interstate, no playing, you're done. Public records, private wars, everyone's a pawn. Fees stack like coffins, delays like chains. Fiduciary thieves running the same old game. Equal on the paper, but the system's full of lies. They bury your legacy while the powerful rise. Equal and the same. Have to break the probate trap. Equal and the same. Burn the system down. Equal and the same. No more silent graves. Podcast in the fight, rage against the probate slave. Equal and the same. Equal and the same. Fight, 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 fight. Guest on the mic with the archives of the war. Bloodlines contested, justice at the door. Elder exploitation, hidden asset games. The court's a casino, but only they win the claims. Living trust, rejected wills get contested hard. Generation wealth transferred to the legal guard. Equal and the same. We ain't buying the con. Special episode sounding the alarm. Come on, from dusty halls to digital deceit. They profit off your death, off your family's defeat. Research cuts like a guillotine blade. Podcast revolution, time to escalate. How many families must be broken and drained? How many legacies stolen in the probate game? No more compliance, no more playing nice. We expose the trap, we roll the fucking dice. Knowledge is a weapon, truth is the fuse. Light it up! Equal and the same. We're the break the probate trap. Equal and the same. Burn the system down. Equal and the same. No more silent grave. Podcast in the fight, rage against the probate slave. Equal and the same. Equal and the same. Fight, 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 fight. Equal and the same. Special guest probate research. Truth bomb detonated. Equal and the same podcast. We will not be silenced. Break, 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 break the trap. Rage, rage, rage.
Yes, it is. Henry Martocchio tonight on Equal and the Same, 6/13/26, my return day from my god-awful blood clot. Guys, I'm still on my deathbed. I feels like day in and day out, but I just got so pissed off this week, guys. Things are out of control. From Melania Trump recognizing the right to start funding funds for kids in DCF care instead of let's have this serious conversation of abolishment. It's not only abolishment, and this is where it's going to tie in tonight to the probate court, because I believe also that I'm going to have a special guest on tonight called the Probate Trap. And before I bring them out, I just want to go over a few things with you guys. And again, it's just so crazy that a lot of people don't know what's going on anymore. I've been arguing the fact for the longest time that the only time we can get the federal government to hear us is when it's federal abuse of federal dollars. They won't hear our cries when they kill our children, and when they steal our children for profits. They just totally ignore. And it's not only our children, but we also look at this in our later life as elderly people. And it's amazing to me, and how even that conservatorships or powers of attorney, it's all garbage. It violates the constitutional rights of every citizen, and it's no different than let's just say Russia, Germany, or China. That if you're doing something well in the world and you have built yourself a good nest egg to leave your kids, we're finding that the probates are just stealing everything from everybody in an unjust way. And don't forget, guys, where I'm tying this in to the ADA is that most elderly people or people that are in the probate system, because I use the probate system for developmental disabilities of my child, and just the racketeering of non-trained lawyers that go along with the system, no evaluations, no input from the disabled of what they want to do in life and what they want to achieve. So it's going to bring me into my next thing to say to you that most people are probably unaware of. But on our site, the CPS Punisher, go to Equal and the Same, and we're going to have some more documents that are going to be ready for you. I ended up working on a few things this week, and one of them was into this great thing that just started that most people are not aware of. I'm hoping the document is up. Let me see if I can see if it's up. Nope. Let me try share again. It's just basically, I'd like to just read it to you, some opening aspect of it. Stop. I want to go share. I want to go Windows, maybe. I want to go there. No. Entire screen. Chrome tab. Damn it. I forgot how to do this. But anyways, I'm going to read it. On April 7th, 2026, a memo came out from the acting attorney general creating a brand new independent Department of Justice. It's called the National Fraud Enforcement Division, guys. Their main key is to be looking for fraud. And how I've tied this in is through Title IV funding, the DD Act, the 504, because you got to remember when they're doing evaluations in the courts, they have to use 504 money. They're also doing Olmstead. So Olmstead is the disabled's right to live in the community to the fullest extent that's possible, which we know that they're not doing. But this is going to turn into an 18 USC 1343. That's where I'm looking at this right now on my angle and what I've broken down. I also believe that we have wire fraud, the typical. We have corporation crimes because, again, people like to probate as an entity. It's again, your family courts are entities. The states are entities. And don't forget, and I want to give a shout out to him if I can, is Jerry Reed and his executive order, I believe it was 1333 from President Trump in 2018, I believe it was. And don't forget, guys, we have Chevron. Chevron is now the law of the land. They cannot do this. So my belief is, since this executive order, and again, we'll have all the links to it in the whole 9 yards once we publish the document. And I know you can't see it now, but I ended up building sort of like a kind of question and answer to the federal courts, a motion, we'll say, in a memorandum of law, as best as I can understand it educationally, because I'm taking, again, Title II, and I'm using the technical assistance and the other, like DD Act. I'm using all these other acts that are, again, that's the problem with the ADA. It dives in so many types of fundings, American Rescue Plan, all the way down to even one great big bill. Every time there's federal funding used, guys, we got to start chasing this as our hound to break apart the system. And again, I just want to, again, reinforce, the federal rights are being violated in Title II, 504, Olmstead, DD Act, when the courts are refusing to recognize the disabled's rights of modifications of program services and activities to ensure program success as if you had a no disability. And once a federal judge is notified on the ADA violations, it must, a federal disability related fund, a judge has an affirmative duty to act because of the federal law and the federal supremacy, and the DOJ enforcement structures require it. So this is where we need to start heading to, guys. And this is my breaking news of the week. And, yes, Gunnar and me also put together a constitutional canon that we're going to have up on the screen too for everyone to look at. And again, please, somebody debate me if you can, but I want to get into tonight's special guest. First, I want to bring in my friend Darren, and I want to thank him for the great intro, because he keeps on surprising me and amazing me with everything he does. My brother, how are you? And thank you for having me back on your Saturday night show.
Henry, we've been waiting for you to come back, buddy. We've been waiting.
Listen, it's been a long struggle, and if I wasn't so pissed off, the angry citizen, I want to steal his name with the shit I've seen going on all this country all this week. And then what I really kills me the most is again, the probate court. Guys, you got to go look at the probate court on Facebook or I believe it's Rumble, and I believe it's
Probate Trap, Henry.
probate.org.
Probate Trap. Probate Trap.
probatetrap.org.
Right.
And we want to get you guys caught up with these guys because, yes, their key focus is on how estates are being stolen, but it's no different than you or me. Let it be you guys in CPS or me inside of the Department of Developmental Services, that these people are really racketeering the federal dollars. And until now, there's been no accountability. And again, the people who I shared these documents with earlier, please, I mean, post whether I'm wrong. It's that simple. But hey, Darren,
I'll tell you what, dude, they have a great, if you go to their Rumble is absolutely, and I'll put the link up here for you guys, but they have tons and tons and tons and tons of, they have the pages and pages of shows that they've done in the past. And I'm sure all of them are going to be just as good as
the troopers
tonight. I mean, but check this out. And, I was having an issue, Henry. That's why I couldn't help you with your thing there. But guys, this is their Rumble page. This is just the start of it, but this is their stuff right here. They've got 3-4 something pages full of shows after shows that you guys need to check out with all kinds of different information on different things. They do a great job cataloging them, unlike some places I know. And they really do a great job. So make sure you guys check them out on Rumble for sure. And then, obviously in the future, you'll be able to check them out. Let's get their followers up. I see that they got 100 followers on Rumble. Let's grow that thing for these guys. So if you guys can just take a second out to go to Rumble and tell them, hey, we're following you, that would be really cool of you guys to do that. But yeah.
And again, it's one of those things where you got to keep an open mind that if the elderly are being racketeered, you're seeing the pattern. You're seeing the pattern inside of CPS or Department of Developmental Services. This is where we got to join forces, guys. And again, just the incredible. I need you to look at. I think it was last Wednesday's show with and Stephen put the link in our private chat, I believe. That people would be able to see this attorney, this professor, this guy, this man and his wife who are college professors and have been quoted, I think it was 50,000 times by case law, by Google Scholar, that his findings and facts and writings over his lifetime career, and yet the court just absolutely, totally abused his disabled sister and they racketeered all the dollars. We know that's what it's all about. But enough of me, because I want everyone to, before we get into the story, to meet Luann and Robin and Stephen. Right. And guys, Stephen is another great entity and news source that you want to go to. It's News World for News for Us World .us, I believe. But we'll let Stephen and everyone introduce and get the contacts all out, and let's hear a little stories about these guys, because I'm telling you guys, these are good friends of multiple people that we know, and like Toll and Roll, these people will not steer you wrong. Here they are, Robin and Stephen and Luann.
Welcome, everybody. Good to be here. Hey, also, I want to make a quick correction for the news for us. It's news for the number 4 us.world. That's the website, and I had to relaunch it. I had a situation. I had to just I had everything archived on the Wayback Machine, so you can access all my old stuff from the last several years there. But we got new articles coming up. I've only got a few so far, but that's the website. And then on the Probate Trap, we have all of the Probate Trap's blog talk archives, which is over 400 shows. So I wanted to mention that as well, because there's more than just what's on the Rumble.
And again, guys, if you want to import anything from Equal and the Same that I've written as educational thoughts or educational documents, you are more than welcome, because this is our argument in my belief. But I want to hear a little bit about Luann, Robin, and Stephen, if it's possible.
Absolutely.
Who are you? Robin Austin.
I'm Robin Austin. This is Luann Fleming. And we realized that the courts were troubled, let's say. In my own life, I saw unethical activity in courts dealing with them after I lost relatives of mine that were very close. And it wasn't long before I lost my wife and my son within about a month. And that was in the beginning of 2005, the end of 2004, beginning of 2005. And Luann and I knew each other since we were kids. We grew up together
grade.
since second grade.
Beautiful.
And my brother had kept in touch with her, and she talked to him because her husband died. And she was like, he's an astrologer. She's like, tell me about my astrology. He's like, well, I don't know about that, but you should call my brother because you guys are pretty close. And he just lost his loved ones. And so we started talking, and it wasn't long before she said, well, let me come out and help you because you got a lot of shit you're dealing with that I dealt with 6 months ago because my husband died 6 months before your wife. And so she helped me get through all of that. And she saw some of the dirty business that went on with lawyers. And then we got together because we always liked each other when we were kids. And we kind of got back together and just, started hanging out. And I came out to Colorado, and her family was dealing with her father dying, and the courts got involved with that. And I just watched as they just dismantled everything that family had built.
For 50 years.
Yeah.
For 50 years, we had 5 properties completely paid off, one with an acre and a half with 123 antique cars on there. Henry J's, Model A's, the Grand Slam. We had Studebaker Hawks. We had Henry J's. You name it, we had it.
Model A's, Model T's.
And
this is in the state of Colorado for everyone to know,
state
correct?
of Colorado. And my brother kind of got jealous over my family putting my 2 sisters and my mom as trustees. And the other brother decided it was his birthright, which I kind of understand in a way, but there was a lot of arguing in our family, we thought we had it all fixed. My dad did all of his trust, his wills, his power of attorney. And by the time we got into the court, my brothers started taking us into the courts. And before you know it, they said, well, I'm sorry, but we have to appoint a public administrator, even though I applied to be my mom's guardian in a different courtroom. They gave it to me for 6 days, but then they put a stay on that, kicked me off and said, we got to appoint our own. So there went a guardian ad litem, a court-appointed attorney, GAL for my mom, all being paid out of our family trust.
It was a limited guardian.
Limited
ad litem.
Right.
Because they said in court, well, her mother does not need a guardian.
She didn't need a guardian.
She wasn't ruled incapacitated. She didn't need a guardian.
She needed help with her financial problems, but her daughters were fine at doing that, but it was a way.
That was a lie.
Which in my theory, if people don't know, support decision-making is what you're kind of talking about. So it's sort of like when Robin gets up in the morning and he says, hey, Luann, does this shirt look okay tonight for the show? And Luann says, nah, go put on this one, right? It's support decision because we all look to people for help and advice every day of our life.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And the truth is that her mom had plenty of family members around her that were actually taking very good care of all of her needs. And her estate was growing every month by about $1,000 or more. And
oh my gosh,
all of her kids had places to live. Everyone's needs are being met.
We had 4 properties.
There was no need for intervention.
There was no need whatsoever. And they made me a guardian for 6 days, and then they kicked me off as the guardian, and they put in all their own people. They stayed on that for 3.5 years, saying Marion's not stable enough. We have to stay on another 6 months, more money out of the trust. They sold all of our property for $225,000 in 2010. Today it's worth $3.9 million.
And the trucks alone were probably worth $1 million because where are you going to get those old Packers and Henry? You're just not going to find that stuff.
You can't find that stuff, but it was all forced off of the property. And we had to do it within about 4 or 5 weeks. And it was just a big fight with the brothers and the sisters. And we were pulling cars out sideways. These cars were stuck in the mud for like 30 years. I mean, some of them are 10 years, some of them are 5 years. But I'm telling you, what a big fence around the whole property. And I tell you what, it was one of the worst things I've ever been through in my life. And I don't wish it upon anybody. So I told myself
It's healthy.
that day that I left that property, we were kicked off of it. I said, if I could help one family not go through the bullshit hell I went through, then I will be there. I'll do whatever it takes. And then we started working with senators. We started working with everybody I could possibly find. And then we ended up putting up, a website, and then that was taken down for some crap.
Well, we found some other families that had
a lot of
talked to
families.
news reporters and actually gotten a story in the paper about how some of the same people that were involved in Luann's family's case were involved in what those people in that article felt was unethical activities around their cases. And so we got together with some of those families and started to network and find more families, and then more families and more families. And as we started to develop these networks, we started documenting, okay, well, who did what to you? Who did what to you? Oh, guess what? That was the same one that did this to them. Oh, who did what to you? Who did what to you? Oh, that's the same 2 people that were involved in these 7 cases that we're aware of.
It's crazy. And again, we all know they're all court whores. We all know these private courts. I don't, again, care if it's elderly, children, disabled, that they are racketeering to the fullest extent that they can line their pockets. I've been told by one scumbag attorney the money's better off in my pocket than theirs. And I said to him, how is that the best interest of the family to bankrupt them?
Exactly. Yeah. And that is basically what happened to me, because by the time the public administrator was appointed, she ended up selling all the property like within a 6-month period. My brother was completely homeless, kicked out in the street for 10 years. And I tell you what, it was the hardest time in my life. He actually slept in my driveway in a camper for about 3 years, about a year and a half. And then my sister's driveway for about a year and a half. Why they sold all of our property for 10 cents on the dollar or so. And I tell you what, it was a darn nightmare. And I tell you what, I still have nightmares over it today. And we just wanted to do something to let people know what was going on. The senators actually started sending families to us because there is nowhere for anybody to turn to get a remedy. Nowhere.
We went to our senators, we went to congressmen, we went to the police, we went to the attorney general,
Supreme Court.
We talked to anyone you could think of to talk to. We talked to the FBI.
And in our book, it's called The Road to Nowhere.
And yeah, we've written the book, The Probate Trap, telling about the whole journey and the fact that there really is nowhere to turn. And when we found senators that were sympathetic, they tried to do something with the other senators and do something with the laws and do something with the judiciary. And what they discovered was they couldn't do anything either. And when someone would contact them and say, I'm being abused by these courts, they would send them to us. Yeah. We realized we are the accountability. Right. That's us. We're the branch of accountability in our government.
Right. Hey, before I jump into your book a little bit, because you guys brought it up, can we introduce Stephen and tie him into how he's an advocate too?
Hello, everybody. I'm Stephen Phillips. I'm creator and founder of newsforus.world. That's NEWS, the number 4, WORLD. Did you say, Luann, that one of the names of the chapters in the names of the chapters in your book is The Road to Nowhere?
A Road to Nowhere, and that's because
I want to suggest, if we ever do any future video segments when we announce that, if we cue the song Road to Nowhere by Bullet for My Valentine, that would be a good little intro soundbite, I think.
I'll have one of these guys that do the music do that for us. You guys are brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would love for Darren to do that. Dude, and send me a clip of that intro, or maybe do it in the future. That would be great. Because I didn't even know that, guys. I haven't had to read through it.
Of many shows, guys. and again, I would like to know more, Stephen, about how you got involved into the whole advocacy end of probate.
Yeah, absolutely.
People and
so basically, 2022, December 2022, I started doing video podcasting. I did the first 3 or 4 episodes I did was short 15-minute video segments on Rumble and YouTube and a couple others. That was combating the COVID misinformation and fraud going out by all the big tech bros and the government colluding. Everybody knows all about that. I'm sure if you follow the news with the last couple of years regarding stuff that's come out of regarding that. So then fast forward to the beginning of 2023, and I'm doing interviews with Angela Freiner, whom I know through a mutual friend, from years and years ago. Anyway, so I'm helping her tell her story with the new News for Us World Organization. Covered a lot of the COVID fraud. Then fast forward about 2023, I'm also doing school board corruption as well in 2022, covering some of that here locally. But 2023, I did a documentary on the Roger Hilligus case. I think it was 2023 or 2023. And so that kind of launched my career into documentary filmmaking and covering the probate and guardianship court abuse fraud issue, as well as the CPS and the school board issue on top of that, in addition to the COVID fraud. And so then fast forward to the last year and a half, Robin and Luann needed help getting all their shows off of Blog Talk when they were about to shut down. We managed to get all 377 of them, got them up a website, trained them on how to go live on Streamlabs, using Streamlabs and using video social media platforms. And then, well, here we are now. A year and a half later, we got a PR firm behind us, a law professor behind us, and several other powerful names.
And as you as an individual, you're also capable of doing documentaries for people who want to tell their story and get it public, because I mean, I think it's a reasonable fee for what you're charging for the time wise and the effort. So I would like you to explain that before we jump into the book that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what I'm trying to do, and what I've been trying to do with several of the sites that I've had operating in the last several years, is kind of build like kind of like we're doing with the Probate Trap, and then also a couple other sites on Bernie's agrri.org, is kind of build a research foundation and legal resource, perhaps, if you could, because it's going to be, I want to showcase all the evidence from all the cases, documents everything, and kind of do it in a way that we can actually prove that this is going on a massive scale across the country with the CPS, the guardianship and probate courts, and everything in between. And so, yeah, that's where we're, oh my God, I lost my train of thought, you guys. Brain fart. Luann and Robin, you want to chime in?
But if it wasn't for Steven capturing all of our videos, I don't know what we would have done. I mean, not our videos, but all of our Blog Talk shows. There's like 375 or something like that. And then we have another 100 Rumbles. So if it wasn't for Steven coming on and rescuing us, I don't know what we would have done. I mean, he was just a godsend.
Well, it was, the Blog Talk Radio was a platform that we broadcast on every week, and sometimes multiple times a week. And we had shows on that platform to the tune of about 370 shows.
And the type of shows, that's just so people would understand and what they can actually, by sifting through your information, be able to get like subjects of maybe guardianships or estates or trusts and things like that. So that it's not just, the horror stories. It's actual legal topics that they're getting into based on their life experiences. Am I right to say that?
Right. We brought in people that like we have shows on how SSRI drugs are linked to people that wind up doing mass killings. Yeah. We had shows on how CPS and APS, the relationship between CPS and APS is sort of mirror images of what they do to children and what they do to adults, and what they do to, disabled, and what they do to elderly. And and there's all different categories of shows where we would interview both victims and or experts and or legal experts. So there's a broad variety of shows that give a foundation of knowledge that's really pretty vast. And it brought us up to a level of understanding that took us from kind of naive and innocent at the beginning, where we sort of started out going, but wait, they can't do that. Aren't courts halls of justice? I don't understand what's going on. Yeah. To understanding that, no, courts are not halls of justice. That is a myth that is promulgated so that people believe it, so that they come in like lambs to the slaughter, not realizing those places are criminal conspiracy. It's like you walk into the underworld and everyone's armed but you, and that's kind of how it is, because you got people in the courts that have their own secret language, their own set of rules, their own rules of conduct and ethics that you have to abide by, and a different set of conduct and ethics that they abide by, and they ignore their own rules because they're making the rules.
And it's civil, so that gives them the permission to lie, to just do whatever they want, and nobody's held accountable. And this is where I'm saying to guys, we got to start looking at the False Claims Act. And again, I guarantee your mother was not, Luann, or anyone else was not guaranteed the rights and protections of the ADA. Because again, underneath Olmstead, the disabled always have the right to be in their home as first choice. And once they steal that from you and take that from you, there is no point of returning from a convalescent home back to your home. It's just, it's insane.
And I would say about 90% of the time, or a lot of percent of the time, they take these elderly people out on an ex parte hearing. And these people have no idea what's going on. So they go to the judge and tell them what an ex parte
hearing. For those that are unfamiliar with the term, ex parte is a legal term that means only one party to a dispute goes in and talks to the judge, not both sides, as it is in most legal arguments. You have a right to see your accuser and confront them, and you interact with both sides. Are supposed to interact. Ex parte is where only one side goes into a judge, says, here's the situation, I want you to do this, and the judge, generally, if it's somebody saying, here's the situation, this person's not able to take care of themselves, or this person's lawn isn't mowed, or this person didn't do their laundry, or this person needs help.
It's nothing to do with absolute harm. And that's where if an attorney or DCF is going to be going in for an ex parte hearing, they have to have unrefutable, clear and convincing evidence that there is harm being caused. And that's why they have to violate your due process right to defend yourself.
And yet that standard is imaginary.
Because everything's based on a fair preponderance of evidence or judge's discretion, which again is bullshit.
Or what they do is they say, we have to take Mr. or Miss out of the house. We have to put her in a facility to have her checked over. So that will take a couple weeks, a couple months. And before you know it, that 30 days turns into another 30 days, and that turns into a 90 days. And before you know it, they're into a guardianship.
And it's doctors that are not considered to be treating doctors. That's the worst part of it all. They won't accept treating doctors' medical information of their patients. And in my opinion, they're violating doctor-patient relationships. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
And they also will not send some of these elderly people to their own doctors. They will send them to the court's doctors, who are inevitably going to say, there is a problem with this lady or this man, grandpa or grandma. They do need more help. And we're afraid they're being exploited by their family members. Every time that judge is going to come in, boom, with a hammer and say,
well, the technical word would be coerced or retaliated against by family members. And that could apply for your Title III subcontractors, the GALs, the attorneys, because I got a conflict of interest in my mind that just, again, how do they approve these modifications when there's a bias that they're going to profit from giving a more restricted environment than allowing the rights of the disabled to flourish?
Well, that's exactly the bias that creates this double bind for these court-appointed individuals. Is if they go into someone's life, I've gone into somebody's life with an ex parte hearing, went before a judge. Judge said, yeah, you got it. Go get him. So I go get him, and I have him now. And then if I go back to the judge and say, no, I was mistaken, everything's fine, I don't get paid nothing. I'm out of the picture, and they get to go back to live their life. So I have an incentive, a real tangible financial incentive to go back to that judge and say, this guy's in trouble, man. He needs our help. And whether he does or not. And the other thing is, you see, because there's this ex parte hearing that put me in as a temporary emergency guardian. So now I've got control. I'm in control of this person's
full estate.
And for all intents and purposes, I am the legal identity of that individual. So now I go to court and I say, Your Honor, This poor bastard can't think for shit. Doesn't know what he's talking about. He's going to need a guardian for the rest of his life. Does he get to say anything about that? No. Why? He's incapacitated. I've already decided that. And the judge has so ruled because he accepted the emergency guardianship. Now he just says, okay, let's rubber stamp this one too. And now that poor bastard's under my thumb for the rest of his natural born life. And so is all of his property, all of his money. His family can be separated from him for the rest of his life. He can be kept in a wet diaper for the next 3 years and then disposed of when the time comes. I'm sorry.
And again, Britney Spears' case was the most disgusting aspect because the father racketeered her for profit to be the manager of all her money. It's again, she earned it. My feeling is if they want to spend it and they want to give away their money, that's their God-given rights in their last days of their life.
Right.
And it's
But the thing that we are really pissed off about is that some of these people, they are not incapacitated at all. They need a little bit of help from their daughters, which they have well-qualified daughters that could easily take care of them. Now, I could take care of my mom, no problem. I've been taking care of her my whole life. But they actually separated us from our mother for 3.5 years. You know, my brother had her, and the courts went right along with it. And I didn't see my mom for 3.5 years.
With
So
no study on how detrimental that would be to take away her known relationships. And again, probate has to facilitate all relationships known of that disabled. And again, if they weren't in writing saying, I don't ever want to see Luann again, you know, she's a child who's harmed me, then again, that had to be established why she was still competent, sort of like a prime directive, we'll say. Which is crazier than crazy. Hey, Steven, do you want to have anything set in? Because do you have your mic working or no? Darren, is there a reason why his mic ain't working?
Yeah, he's putting it on. I mean, Steven has been in here looking at these cases for a long time.
Oh, he's a data cruncher, guys. He is a serious.
There it goes.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
All right, sorry about that. Some settings were off in the interface. I got it fixed. I wanted to touch on the fact that what you said, Henry, about the doctors, you know, like my father, and I'm confirming what he said as the son of a doctor, as the son of a medical doctor, and and someone who's covered the medical aspect of the COVID issue, as well as a lot of what's going on in the probate and guardianship and CPS issue. So I can absolutely confirm they're not adhering to that standard of people's already existing practitioners and doctors.
Oh, absolutely. And again, that's a total violation of the disabled's rights. And this is where I'm not getting it. You guys, we got to understand, the ADA in July is 36 years old. How are we still getting it wrong? The civil rights of the disabled.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Everybody wants to talk about deprivation of due process, but what people don't realize is it is happening in the civil courts on a massive scale, and there's no oversight for the judges as far as the judges' discretions go, and they're just trampling over people's rights left and right and freaking committing wholesale RICO, in my opinion, and fraud.
Right. And again, the other night's show, guys, you got to check this out. If you want to touch back and give a little of your last show with Professor Barry. And I would love to have a talk with him one day because I got a lot of applications where I never heard him say once that his sister was being coerced, racketeered. The money was left for her and her needs. And again, for the lawyers to take first stab at this, I think it's wrong. I think it's thoroughly wrong. I think, again, underneath her, even though her disability was temporary, there is rights even for temporary disabled people that they must adhere to, and they're not doing it. They don't care. They don't want to slow down the system. They want to whack who they can whack and get away with. If you're not part of the good old boy network, or you're having a lawyer that you're paying outrageous thousands of dollars an hour just to be in court, and again, to bring frivolous, meaningless, how can I say, charges against people, family that's known each other all their life.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The ADA, and I did talk to Bernie, and his name is Bernie Black, and he's a top scholar, him and his wife, at Northwestern University in Illinois. And I tell you what, they have some. It's amazing the knowledge that these law professors have.
They're both law professors.
Yeah, and they said that. I guess we talked to him one time about the ADA laws, and he says, "Well, they don't acknowledge that." And isn't that kind of like a crime in a way?
That is, because there really technically is no teeth.
It's a violation of federal law.
The states were put under good behavior, and they were supposed to implement prophylactic protections with strictest scrutiny for the disabled. So instead, what they've done now is racketeered the money. They say that they're compliant, and without digging deep into it, like ADA advisory committees, where's your policies and procedures? Who's your designated responsible employee, 28 CFR 35.107, so I can file an investigation against a state actor or state player to ensure that it ends the discrimination. And again, we're hearing a lot that judges got the right to approve your modifications. No, they don't. The judge, that's a conflict that's biased. If the judge is ruling a case, how does he get to lessen your rights so that you don't have an equal footing in the courtroom? Tennessee Lane, guys, again, it's called in Rikers Island, 2004 settlement agreement. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about which you should be able to find at prison. And guys, I love prison cases because what applies to one Title II entity has to apply to another Title II entity. Right? And the states are looked at as a whole. They can't say, well, we don't have that specialized program, sir. Somewhere within the state, they got to have it and they have to carry it over.
Right. Well, a lot of this people that are in guardianship, they have less rights than prisoners. They
Absolutely.
Don't get their mail. They don't get to talk to their family members. They don't have their computers. They have nothing. They don't even have a voice left. The guardian speaks for them. They can give them water.
You're hitting it right. They've redefined institution now to be like these people are kept in their house as prisoners. How much more confined do you want? And where's their legal rights to go immediately and petition to the Supreme federal courts of the abuses and the atrocities if within 10 days somebody does not take a retroactive affirmative obligation to end the discrimination or do the investigation that you're making claim of? They have to. It has to be like, and I don't like saying it this way, but a rape case, their rights are violated. And yet there's the names, who was involved, conclusions, fact of the case. And most of all, guys, this is what nobody's getting is through the designated responsible employee is if we find out there is discrimination, there's supposed to be auto correction of the system immediately for all. And it's not happening. The bar does not want that to happen. That takes away all their little corner deals that they have to threaten people, intimidate people, coerce them to do what they want us to do because they say it's in the name of the best interest and we don't know what's best interest for us.
And in the best interest of these people, they are sitting there in a nursing home or in their own home. Their family can't visit them. They're completely locked away from their family. They're also being brainwashed.
There's rules on that. You can't do that to the disabled.
They are also brainwashing them, telling them that your daughter doesn't want to visit you anymore. They did this to you.
Oh, we got that in CPS cases. Yep.
The character assassination. So many families that they try to make them look bad when they're in a court. So the court will say, yes, we got to keep them away from that family member when that family member did nothing like what they did to me. I never did. I never harmed my mother.
And guys, through their oath of their offices, they cannot remain silent when they've seen and it's been identified to them that there's discrimination going on. They cannot remain silent. They have to. The case stops. We do an investigation. We have a conclusion, and then the case will proceed with appropriate modifications and protections. And again, I would love to say to Barry, I think you're right. Up till now, that the only thing we had was the False Claims Act, USC 18242, 241, and 243, which is the coercion, which you can only charge after you have the crime. So again, you got people conspiring, and again, the RICOs. We're playing with all this stuff right now, and because I was supposed to do an injunctive relief, start of 1443. tie it into the civil rights, because again, guys, the ADA breaks down to Title VII, which it is a civil right of yours. If you are disabled, you have that right for effective communication. You have the right for modifications, and you have the right for prophylactic protections with strictest scrutiny in all evaluations or anyone speaking on your behalf. So again, now with this new office that's been generated in the federal government, fraud, waste, and abuse, I believe it was that I started off. Well, we have the false claims and then the federal fraud statutes again that we can address within this action. And again, I never heard of this one, and my computer pulled it out for me, but it's 28 USC 1651, All Rights Act. Has anyone ever heard of that act in protections?
I'm not sure. Have we? What was the name of it again? Say that one more time.
I have 28 USC 1651, All Rights Act.
That would be a Bernie question. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm going to obviously play with my computer and Google it later and get into it, because obviously, I've been cranking out some stuff. And again, my stuff is only for somebody to say, hey, let's have a conversation about this technical assistance and technical guidance. And let's come down to what is the truth of the rights of the disabled. Because what Congress's will is not obviously being followed by court systems and states and anywhere where we're dealing with federally funded programs. And that's where I'm trying to say to Bernie, Guy, I would love to sit down and flush this out with you. And again, show that your sister was racketeered. They did it for profit. They did it for coercion, and again, these are all criminal crimes and I believe he said they stole $2.7 million out of his mother's estate.
Yeah, something like that. We're not exactly, I'm not exactly.
It was crazy numbers. You guys got to go back. I'm telling you, the best 2 hours you could ever think of. This guy is a law professor. I think he said he's been quoted by Google Scholar in cases because, he's obviously writing, almost
quoted in Google Scholar, I think over 30,000 times, if I'm correct, Robin.
Yeah, it was a large number of times that his writing has been quoted.
60,000 times.
Yeah.
60,000.
60,000? Oh, wow.
Cited by legal scholars in courts, in reference works, in schools. 60,000.
And not only that, but his wife, Kate Litvak, she is a powerhouse. She's brilliant. And they have been totally victimized in our courts. Can you believe that? If they're being victimized as law professors, what
state did her sister go and visit and then had a temporary nervous breakdown or something like that, and then that's when they seized her and the state wouldn't release?
She came to Colorado.
She came to Colorado and she had a schizophrenic attack or something like that.
An
episode. So the courts got involved. They put her into the Denver court. And it lasted for a couple months. When you have a schizophrenic attack, it could last a few months. It could last a week, whatever. My brother does that.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up putting him in the court. But within a couple months, she fled back and went to New York. But they kept the probate case open in Colorado for 10 years.
Well, the guardianship. They put a guardianship on her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went back to New York. She got back on her medication. She wasn't having any more episodes. She was kind of cleared up. And she was adjudged to not need a guardian in New York. They said she's handling her affairs just fine. She's not, going around crazily throwing money at statues and things. I mean, she's handling things the way a reasonable, rational person handles their affairs.
Right.
She does not need a guardian.
So
but the Colorado court refused to honor the order of the New York State Court, which is very unusual for a court in one state not to honor the decision of another court. And this is a pattern in this Colorado court. This is what we learned in this episode of the Probate Trap that we just did with Dr.
And I'm
Bernard
telling you
Black.
right now, you have to go to the Rumble. That's the best one to watch it on. And we got it also up on the Probate Trap. But this shows the huge problem we have when you have law professors.
And you've got a judge that absolutely disregards the law.
And they do whatever they want.
Disregards legal precedent.
And not only that, if I remember right, he said that she actually attacked people who weren't even in the case. How the hell can a judge, without a motion or subject matter jurisdiction, attack people who were not even part of the case?
Right.
The judge allegedly went after the Kate Litvak and their son, and they also tried to put Bernie Black into jail, saying that he stole all his sister's money. And I'm saying that Bernie, there's no way that man is as honest as I know of. And I'm telling you right now, they tried to accuse me of how I was stealing my mom's money, character assassination. So remember this. They love to do this. And I'm just saying that out of 500 radio shows we've done with families, and I've talked to maybe over 5,000 families, and this is the same pattern. It's in our book. We call it the Guardianship Abuse Playbook. And it's the same thing. You have to go read this book when we get it up in a couple of weeks, hopefully. And it says the same pattern over and over and over again. Now, how could this be happening if everybody we've interviewed has the same pattern? It's obviously set up that way, my folks. I'm telling you, I hate to say that.
My question is, do you guys know of any buddy that was able to receive remedy for being so defamed inside of the courts or inside of a proceeding that, again, the false allegations? And to my knowledge, I cannot figure out anyone.
Okay. It's so rare.
We know of rare occasions where some particularly egregious acts by some guardian actually triggered investigations, and a guardian that robbed, hundreds of people perhaps may have gotten several charges against them, and then those routinely get reduced down. I mean, so there have been three or four that we're aware of where a guardian actually had consequences for people that died in their care, people that were obviously robbed in their care, people, these are some instances.
It's pretty rare, but it does happen. And I think there's more and more stories. But as far as
any recompense to their victims, we have yet to see anything that approaches anything like fairness as far as that goes.
Because again, in my mind, I'm playing with the ADA Title II, which pulls out of the 504 remedies, right? And then out of that action, we also have the supremacy clause. We also now I'm thrown into the book of False Claims Act, that these people are certifying they're compliant, that they're giving the program services and activities an opportunity of disabled people to have modifications or receive modifications and be treated in the human dignity like found in Olmstead decision, the rights of community inclusion. And again, this is where, I'm playing with this. And again, I'm hoping, because this is, again, the whole point of tonight's show is to say there's a new office. We got to start hunting this down. And again, we got to start going after it, because according to the paperwork, as of June 6th, all states should have an attorney general that is now authorized to look in any dollar amount of fraud in program services and activities that are using federal funding.
Wow. So, and you know what? Another thing that I'm glad about that. I'm hoping something really happens. But another really sad problem is that it's really hard to find an attorney, because a lot of them know what's going on in the probate cases. But when you do find a good attorney and an honest attorney, they go ahead and they get their people out of a guardianship. The other attorneys they have retaliation against these good attorneys. Yes. And now they're getting them in to where they have sanctions. I mean, we can't even tell you how many attorneys we have that have been sanctioned. 62 that we know of.
As an example, the illustrious law professor that we had on our show less than a week ago was actually disbarred in New York based on the comments of the judge in Colorado that maligned and defamed him to the legal profession without grounds. I mean, he's like, I didn't do any of the things that they're accusing me of. I didn't break any laws. I was very perspicacious, and that's been verified by like financial auditors, both from a big corporate entity and from a big corporate auditor firm. So I didn't do any of the things I was accused of,
Right.
but this judge made these charges to my peers and the other courts, and I was disbarred over there for stuff that never
And
happened.
he ended up in 4 states that all these attorneys took him to. And I tell you what, and he's a law professor. Oh my God. It's like,
his resources are endless. And I heard him say too, while he was talking, that even as a law professor, he hired people to appoint him. So when we talk the numbers that they robbed from his estate, it's not only his mother's estate, but him financially too. They persecuted him. And this is where people got to understand, if you're going to get into this fight, you're going to get persecuted. But my idea is, again, using the ADA, the 504 false claims, because now if there's certain things that are not triggered by the courts, I believe you have a 10-day rule now to now federally remove if they don't comply. And I'm working it out in my briefs to show, because I've already been refused in 2013. The courts, even my state courts have said my son's under 18. The ADA doesn't apply to him. Are you fucking kidding me? This is out of control. This is so out of control how they pick and choose to lie their balls off, because they know that we are stuck with an appeal. Then they're going to say, well, you never appealed.
And then he says, when he goes to the appellate courts, he says, they'll go ahead and said, well, you could go ahead and don't have to answer to the other court at all. It's okay if they took $1.2 million or whatever it is. I was so flabbergasted. You guys really need to go to the Rumble and look at what happened to Bernie Black. I mean, we're going to be interviewing his wife pretty soon, what happened to her. She became a victim to the court. This is another law professor, okay? So this is, we're reaching out to news agencies. We're reaching out to everybody we can, because this is just disgusting to us.
And
there's a reason behind this, because guys, he's also creating now to take data. He's taking data now. So not only is Luann and Robin and Steven taking data, we got to start giving our data over. And again, I'm telling you, this is what we need to hit them with it. But again, my belief is the sooner we can start arguing the correct way that they're frauding the federal government and frauding the people, is the sooner that we can get into these courts for having federal oversight on what is going on.
Well, it's Bernie now he developed a 501c3 organization, and it's called agrri.org.
Can you repeat that one more time?
It's
agrri.org.
Yes.
That's
it's called Adult
American.
No, it's called Adult Guardian Research and Reform Institute, AGRRI. And now he is finding funding for them to do complete research on this whole process. And we've got a lot of states involved. Now we want to really research and reform everything, because when you're in a guardianship or conservatorship, there is no one keeping track. No one knows. We could have 20 million people in there. We have no idea. We think there's 1 to 3 million. I think it's higher than that.
You're talking about Colorado?
No, this is across the whole nation.
Yeah.
And in 20, I think there's 20,000 people under conservative and guardianship here in Colorado, but ours has no Colorado Opens Record Act. All our cases are sealed. And that's
what they do. They purposely seal it, and they just tried doing it to me in a housing court matter that's involved in the estate. And again, they're doing it because they don't want the disabled, showing it to disabled. I'm arguing how they're violating their rights across the board. Not only did the Title III attorney never get probate permission to end and segregate me from my mother, but also it was never her best interest. It was never the best interest of my disabled child, who has promises from my mother on the estate, and again invested in the estate, and had his educational rights stolen from him by the power of attorney, and then they turned it to involuntary, and they turned it to voluntary. And the only time the courts appointed my mother an attorney was on the involuntary, which I find that so disgusting and ethical. They went right for the kill right off the bat. Here's power of attorney. You can't. You have to use the least restricted environment or the least restricted means to help. Again, my belief is co-decision making or support decision making, which if you guys want to Google that, there are advocates across this country. Connecticut judiciary has stopped us for 3 years of getting that recognized. I think it's only recognized in 13 states as a plausible. But again, how come we have not figured out this whole racketeer system? Because again, when the Constitution was made, it was made for all men equal, right?
Exactly.
They never said something about if you have a disability, because Mountain Jack that lived up there with the tigers or the bears, everybody knew the guy was nuts as shit and never went near him back in the old days. So think about it. In the old days, you had a right to be crazy, or eccentric or whatever you want to call it. Today, if you ain't prim and proper and following their state statutes, you know what I mean? It's again, if a guy wants to go out and give money to buy junk cars and collect them, well, what's the difference between that and somebody who spends $500,000 million on a stupid boat that only uses out of 2 times out of the year? It's just
exactly. Another big thing that's going on is if a person goes to an estate attorney and they say, I need a will, I need a trust, I need powers of attorney, that's okay. That's all happening. But as soon as one accusation goes into the court, they can put that guardian, it'll override all that in a minute. So now you have these wills and trusts that don't mean shit, nothing. It doesn't matter what you wrote. It doesn't matter what you have in ironclad. They're not bulletproof. So if anybody says, oh, I'm good, I got a trust, I got a will, I'm good to go. That's what my dad said. And I tell you, we went in there and they were all dissolved. The public administrator did come to us and say, well, according to the trust, after your mom died, we have to divide it 6 ways. And I thought, well, since when did you start listening to the way our trust was? When did that start happening? Because before it didn't happen. Nobody cared about anything my parents said,
Now, talking with somebody, and I'm going to say it's Gunning for CPS. He's our Sunday night lead show at 9:30. But he was bringing in the estates and we were just bullshitting about, Mr. Black. And, he says, well, why didn't have his mother put it in an international trust where now America cannot get their hands on it? Have you heard of that?
But how would you know about where to go and do that? Because they're dishonest out there too.
I guess it's a very complicated system to
do. You could do a ladybird trust. There's so many things that these courts will do to break that trust, no matter where in the hell they're at. I'm telling you out of that, I've talked to thousands of families, and I don't remember any of those that went into court where they actually went ahead and went along with their parents' trust. I haven't talked to one family where that happened. So I know there's some families that have had where there's no arguing in the family members, or the next door neighbor didn't call them in and say, oh, your yard's not mowed right. And hospitals are really, really bad.
They're very dangerous.
Because they're dangerous, but we don't want to say people don't go to a hospital when you need to. You just got to be careful when you go to a hospital that hospitalist is not going to tell your mom, there's something going on here. We have to get involved, because they could get a guardianship right then and there at that hospital on an ex parte hearing, and your mom and dad is not going home from that hospital. And I've talked to families, I can't even tell you how many of those stories we've had. Another kicker is when you go in with your husband and say you go from one state to another for a vacation, and if your husband or wife or whoever it is gets dehydrated or they go to a hospital, that hospital can get guardianship of that person just like that for any accusation. Then you're left trying to get that husband or wife out of that other state, like the Beverly Shaw case or the Rose case in Nevada, or no, in Nebraska, they completely isolate you from your husband or your wife. Then they have to go get an attorney to go ahead and fight that other state to get your husband home to that state. This goes on for years. And I've seen people where the state will take their property and they completely bankrupted by the time they get their family home.
And the court loves it because as long as you're fighting, you're spending money in the court. And as long as the court's fighting back, you're going to keep spending money in the court.
And that's just it. They keep the fight going. Where again, I believe the ADA would be a way to again within 10 days to end this ridiculous fight if you don't do it right. Meaning you're asking for the qualifications of people. You want to know who their ADA advisory committees are. You want modifications. You want investigations by appropriate people who are trained in that disability. And again, I prefer a treating doctor, which we have that right for treating doctors, but yet the courts are just overlooking it because they're using the horrors of the court. I think it was a case out of Florida where it was considered a horrors of the court. One person was court ordered 36 times to different evaluators, and everyone had a different opinion.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it happens. And I'm telling you, the difference with the CPS and the APS, well, there's really no difference, is that one happens to the children, one happens to the disabled people. It's the same concept what these courts are doing. And in fact, in our book, Debbie Carroll, you'll have to meet her one day. She is brilliant. She was a school teacher for like 40 some years or something like that. But she works with the CPS, and she has a chapter in our book called The Foster Care Empire. And oh my gosh,
she does a deep dive on the Title IV funding that is behind the foster care empire, where parents, families are targeted by CPS, not for any behavior of that family, but simply because they target certain families who may have had involvement with government agencies before.
It's a really good variety of
targeting that they do.
So I'll give you an example of what happened to me. My son has a developmental disability. I got a home and community budget. It's called ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis. They sent an idiot out that was basically, she was his first evaluation. Her report was just such a joke. It was such a cookie cutter. She did not realize it. And they charged his budget over $10,000 for less than 1 week's worth of evaluations, meaning 2 hours a day. Maybe I'll give you a travel, half a day of her time. You know what I mean? I'll give you an hour back and forth on travel, then writing the report. And again, it was the same cookie cutter, which again, Connecticut has kept it where teachers can remain silent at an IEP meeting and never, can you plug that back in for me, Nate? Never speak on what is the true interest. And again, these are all things you're going to have to search within your laws. That again, if it applies underneath the educational rights, then it should apply within the probate court rights. Do you understand what I'm doing here?
And all these rights are good if the judge allows it. But this Denver judge, from what I heard, from what Brittany was telling us, is that she kind of makes up her own rules. So now we have a petition.org out there. We have a change.org petition that is all over Facebook to remove Elizabeth Judge Leith in Denver. So if you see that, please sign it, because we want a couple thousand. We want at least 1,000 signatures on there.
And it's a petition to the governor, who has the option to reappoint Judge Leith, and that we have. We're a group that talks to people that run into problems when they get into the courts. So we know the victims more than the people that don't have problems with court.
No, we know.
So when there is a pattern that emerges of a lot of people telling us, I've had problems in this court, and it's the same court over and over and over and over with the same judge over and over and over and over, then we look at that pattern, and that tells us something about how that court is operating and who's running the court in what way. So based on those patterns, we feel that this judge is not really someone that should be in charge of a court. And we
Right.
said as much in a statement to the governor, as did other activists and other victims of this same judge that went before the judge and were treated very badly in their own estimation.
And I know that Stephen just got done putting the suspect judge page up on our website.
Yep.
Go ahead and talk about that.
Well, we've got a suspect judges page up that has one post so far. We're going to have a separate box for each suspect judge, but the first one is Judge Elizabeth Leith, and all the complaints from Bernie, Luann, Robin, the Wells brothers, and others, and of course Rick Black as well. So we've got that up there. We've got a link to the live interview we do with Bernie on the website. I have to fix the lip sync with that. Just I want to let everybody know if they go and check it out right now, it's going to be a little off. Give me till the end of the night, about an hour or two after the podcast. I should have it up. I just forgot to run a command on FFmpeg to get it synced properly. So it should be fixed by tonight. But anyway,
it also should
yeah, correct.
So people in different states can also go to your website and be able to jump in the show. And don't forget,
yeah, well, eventually that's our ultimate goal. Yep, exactly. But right now we have a bunch of news stories from around the country, from different states, on this issue. We've archived them into PDFs and sourced them. They're all up available on the website, and then we've also got an archive of like 377 blog talk radio podcasts from Luann and Robin's days when they were doing audio podcasting, and as well as the Rumble lives that we've done in the last several years or so, which we're going to have up on the site soon, as well as
you guys also, because you guys also went to the whistleblower convention last August.
I did. I'm glad I didn't in retrospect. Go ahead, Luann, tell them about all that.
Some of the noise in the background, and what was the question again? Tell me.
The whistleblowers.
Oh my gosh,
convention that you guys did. How did that pan out?
Well, we went to the whistleblower summit, and
it was difficult.
It was
difficult. There was so much opposition that was like opposition to whistleblowers in general, and what surprised us was that we actually ran into opposition from whistleblowers that were at the convention, which we really did not understand what was up. It was just odd to us that would be something that would happen.
But we connected to a lot of really good advocates out there, and that was the greatest thing about all of it. But would I go back to the whistleblower summit? I don't think I would go back, and I just leave it at that, because I wasn't. And I know Marty Oakley used to go in there, and she was excellent. She was my heart. She was another Block Talk radio show host, and we worked with her a lot. And she went to the whistleblower summit faithfully for many, many years, and we love that part.
We used to joke with Marty. Yeah. We'd get her on the phone, and we'd be like, "We're stealing your guests," and she'd be like, "Oh no! Well, I've got to stomp you guys out. If you got any that I could steal," we're like, yeah.
So we would
share guests back and forth to try to get a bigger megaphone on the situation, because we're all trying to expose what's going on and blow the whistle on what's really happening in the world. And
but we've been doing radio now for 10 years. 10 years.
In that spirit, we went to the whistleblowers convention, and there was a lot of that. We did feel good about some of that.
And the reason why I raised it is because my belief is the whistleblowers have been out since the early 90s, because I know people have done it in Connecticut, and they just hammered the hell out of her. That poor woman, they stole everything.
And, at the very least, since I was a kid, so I didn't even know it went back that far, but that's good.
Yeah. I just don't feel there is any protections, and that's why I'm not kind of pushing it to say to you guys, listen, you guys got an option of whistleblower protection. So that's why
I've never seen too much protections anyway. So that's about all I'm going to say about that subject, because you could be a whistleblower, you could be a talk show host, And you really have to be careful when you're on the radio. You have to say allegedly a lot. You have to do a lot of stuff to protect yourself. But we've been doing radio 10 years, and we just want to let people know that there's dangers in our court. You have to try to stay out of it.
And
stay out of
the
court.
honest to God reality, the honest to God reality is that if you're willing to go online and do a show like we've been doing, do a show like this, there's going to be opposition out there where there might be times when people come after you.
You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. You know, you kind of start getting a little paranoid looking over your shoulder, because the reality is we're against very powerful, very wealthy criminals who have no compunction about stealing everything from a family.
But then you also have some
and really don't
cool
give
people.
a damn if those people wind up dying under their care. And so those kind of people are dangerous people. And they are more than happy to do what it takes to silence somebody that's bringing attention to their crimes.
Yeah, but you got to also look at it this way, that a lot of those bad apples are not all the apples in that bowl. We have some good judges, and we've got some good attorneys.
That is where I draw my strength from, the fact that truth actually makes you stronger. There's a book called Power versus Force, and I highly recommend it to everybody, wherein the author essentially proves that a person who is telling the truth strengthens themselves, and a person who is lying weakens themselves. Exactly. And you can do this with simple muscle testing. You hold your arm out straight, have somebody push it down, and tell them your name is Joe Smith when it isn't, and you'll be weaker than if you tell them your real name. If you're lying, you're weakening yourself. So
now, my first book was Failed Justice Behind a Black Robe, Barb Johnston. She was an attorney out of Massachusetts. I mean, the poor woman, she had to flee to Costa Rica, guys. This is how bad. When you open up this can of worms, and the only thing I'm banking on that gives us all hope today is we have Mr. Donald Trump sitting in the office with some pretty good executive orders. You know, we have the Chevron. We're all arguing back to our constitutional rights, 1776. I wish we could have toll and roll here and giving the spiel on that one and tying into everyone's rights.
I'm sure you guys will have them on soon in the future, and I'm sure we will as well. So
yeah, right. And again, Billy is an advocate to us, and we're an anchor to them, and we're hoping that even with the probate trap, that we become a family and we recognize this, that it's a total system that needs to join us together. We cannot keep fighting these individual fights on our own, because the playbook that's being used here, guys, they're gonna use it over there.
Oh, absolutely. And because we're fighting people who are willing to try to destroy the truth, which is what they must do in order to continue in pursuing their agenda, because we're fighting those kind of people, they are working a divide and conquer agenda against us all the time, which is why when you go into these corrupt courts, the first thing that they do is create division among the family or amplify any division in a family. And then they conquer the individual members of that family by saying, well, you're stealing from your mother. Well, you're stealing from your mom too. Oh, no, judge, everyone's stealing from mom except us. We're going to have to take the money. And it doesn't matter. No one may be stealing from mom, but once they get families a little divided, they work that and divide and conquer that.
They don't even need that, because I happen to know of a case right now that's about 3 months old. The 94-year-old woman passed away. She was the aunt of one of my friends, and the estate, goes back to Ma Bell days, where she always invested her money. And again, anything that was, we'll say that she had assets on, which again, her assets were enormous. That's all I was told. And again, everything had a beneficiary attached to it. Well, the probate court found out that there was some good chunks. We're just going to say some accounts with like 100,000 in it. They assigned 3 GALs and 1 attorney to go start auditing the whole thing and looking for every dollar. They're sucking the estate so dry.
And then they'll put all these officials on there, and they'll suck that estate till there's nothing left, and the heirs might get $1,500, and they have to sign a waiver saying, I won't sue you. And that happened to many families.
And again, they're looking for long lost relatives that could be a fifth cousin to her. And if you aren't named, then how do you think you get to open up the door on everything else? And yet they're just doing anything they want, and they are running the hell out of these people. And with it being secret court, they won't give you, which again, with the guys with the ADA, I'm sorry, it's called effective communication, and it starts at court services. How do you know what forms you need? How do you know what form, what does what? It goes all the way up to even to the law library for your ability to research. And probate in the state of Connecticut is making me use such an antiquated system that I can't even understand how to use it. And it's like no other, CT Judicial or Pacer account that I've been on, or other state, websites that I've looked up cases. It's just such an antique, and they laugh because, again, pro se's are the only ones that have to use it. Attorneys don't have to use it. They have a different system, that they can use because they're bar members and they're supposedly honest, and they're not. And again, it's crazy. Where did we become the second-rate citizen? I just don't get it. The courts were designed for our rights, not entities' rights, like business rights of a GAL, business rights of the courts, business rights of the state. They're all corporations. They do not have a seat at the table.
They have the only seat at the table, though, really, if you're talking about the way it actually works.
Well, again, we lost it over the 250 years. If I go back to the 1776, I would have went and seen my town mayor. My town mayor, or first selectman would have made the family's decision because they were best suited to know who was living in their community and what it was all about. It's strangers. We're going to strange systems that have no idea of the family, no understanding of the dynamics, never interacted with the family, and they're making these major decisions on the family's behalfs. And I think it's illegal.
I think it is too. I believe that these are absolute criminals that are committing crimes, and they do it under color of law, which is basically the pretense that it's all legal because a judge says it is.
Well,
I believe that's
not Robin. On that note there, though, I want to sit there and say, well, where does a judge get the right to diagnose from the bench? Where does an attorney get the legal right to diagnose as being an attorney?
And I believe, it is my personal conviction and belief that they don't actually have that right,
but they abuse it.
They're abusing their authority to exercise that authority in a way that really is not theirs. I believe they're violating laws. I believe they're violating the canons of government. I believe they're violating oaths.
Which, again, I believe, Luann, I gave you in the beginning of the week, ADA and canons on that of judges, and, again, ethics of attorneys. So, again, you really need to dive into that document, too.
Dive into all that.
If you can get that to attorney professor. And I'm not looking for him to give me, oh, Henry, you're so fucking smart, because I'll tell everyone the truth. I use AI. I use multiple AIs. It's, again, how you ask the question and what you input. And again, because I've done the research, I got my case law. You know what I mean? I've set the foundation.
You have to be specific with it. You got to be specific is what the key is.
Right. And again, set the perimeters and again, let it go ahead and decide. And again, that's how I get a lot of my information, because you can't, again, I just got comfortable. My leg is hurting like no tomorrow.
We're sorry about that.
Yeah, well, again, this is, Rockville General telling me, oh, you got a sciatic nerve, when I'm walking around 6 weeks with a blood clot in my leg, and they just want to keep
sciatic nerve pain sucks. I've had that.
Oh, I'll take a sciatic nerve any day over a blood clot, Stephen. You have no idea the hell I'm living. And then they even had the medicine leak out of my veins.
I got sciatic nerve pain, and tooth pain was the worst. Because I've not had a blood clot, so I hope I don't ever get one. But
well, it was crazy. And again, the suffering that I'm going through is just amazing. Where right now my foot is totally numb. And that's a good point too, guys. The gabapentin they put me on, I swear to God, it made me so.
You need to not take gabapentin.
I had no choice. They gave it to me.
Stuff. Yes.
Then I started seeing the case studies of dementia and the whole 9 yards. So, guys, when we start seeing the system medicate to silence, and I've seen it in emergency rooms on autistic kids that were left there for over 32 days, and they medicate the shit out of him to keep him. And he's crying while I was in there. Don't medicate me. No, no, no. I just wanted to stand up. What is wrong with these people even keeping a child with autism in an emergency room for 38 days in the state of Connecticut? How is that possible?
Because they say it's
oh, we don't have a bed. We don't have a bed for him yet.
Right.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And these judges having no oversight, because the oversight is just another layer of judges who just rubber stamp everything that the first layer of judges does.
Right.
They have unlimited absolute power in their courtrooms. This is why a judge in Colorado gets an order from another court and says, I don't give a damn. Gets an order from a financial corporation that says, we can't give you this money because things aren't right. And she says, I'm going to put this guy under contempt because he doesn't give it the money, even though he can't. And, it's like this, because there's no one to then say to that judge, you can't do that. This is wrong, and we're going to stop you. There's consequences. There isn't any. There isn't any consequences.
Because they gave themselves absolute immunity. And again, this is tying back to 1776. I do not see how they have immunity. How do they give the state underneath the ADA has abridged their immunity by taking federal funding? How do these people have immunity to give themselves immunity through the state bar association? They just can't. And then, well, never mind a whole similar and same to like Google. How come they are not being accused of racketeering? And again, that they are a driven entity that controls the whole flow of a whole operation, sort of like Google was accused of the internet. They had to break up the Google monopoly. So why aren't we having something that's running parallel? And I don't get why you can't have paralegals, you know what I mean, at that level to be able to give legal assistance to people or legal help and legal, because again, a paralegal has to work for a lawyer. I do not see why. I think a paralegal should be able to do.
If you go to the end of our chapter here coming out in a couple of weeks, we have the hidden truth about our judicial system, or what's that one? I've read it 1,000 times. Yeah. Well, there's a retired attorney that put in our last chapter of our book. Her name was Leslie Federigo. I just love that woman so much. She gave us the last chapter of it, and she talks about all the stuff that goes on in our courts, and she explains it very well, and why there's only 0.6% of people that really know how to operate in a court and how to get away with stuff. And that's like 1 out of 1,000 people. So you have to think about that as well. And she did a brilliant part in our book. And I think I want everybody to go to that and look at it. It's great.
Yeah, she breaks it down and says, it is as though all of the mechanics in the country were able to make a law that no one could work on your car except for a registered mechanic, and that registered mechanics, and then they had the ability to fix the price of anything that needed to be done to a car so that you had to pay whatever price they said. And then they had the ability to pass a law that you couldn't work on your own car. And so you have to drive your car. You have no choice. You have to go and get it fixed, but you can't afford it. But it's your tough luck. She said, that's the kind of legal system we have, is one where the lawyers are involved in making the rules of the game. The lawyers are the ones who enforce the rules of the game. Judges are just another layer of lawyers in a different outfit.
Right.
And, so it's like this club has set up this whole structure where they've got their own language, and you're not allowed. I mean, I'm trying to represent myself pro se in court, and it's well nigh impossible. They've got a pro se handbook, and all it says is you can file any of these 17 things in the court, and none of them apply to my case. But there's nothing else. They don't offer anything else. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Figure it out, buddy. You're on your own. We don't give a damn.
It's called A Road to Nowhere, like in our book.
And it's designed that way because they don't want people to have
and that would be another argument I would have underneath the ADA, underneath effective communication, that they have to help navigate the disabled through the program, service, and activities. They have to provide assistance, and it's not legal assistance. It's referral. How can I say, technical guidance, technical assistance. They have to have a policy and procedure, again, of what to be filing and how to be filing in certain applications.
Well, that really should apply to every person who's not competent to practice law on their own behalf. They really ought to have a system set up whereby there was available resources that could coach and guide that person through the process. But
And it
they
used to be-
essentially don't have it.
It
because
used
it's
to be done
meant
by
to be-
affidavits of truth. And that's where the problem lies. There is no truth in civil courts.
No, truth
It's
doesn't
only
matter.
criminal.
It doesn't matter.
And again, the case law is well established that they have the right to lie. They have the right to cheat. They have the right to entrap. If you're a cop, you have the right to entrap. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
when does it end? It just doesn't make sense to me. So, hey, Darren, you've been quiet there. I just noticed you posted in our private chat. Come on in here. I want to hear from your thoughts, because you've been quiet on this subject too, and because you got real world experience. And
Yeah, I got real world experience. All right. Yeah. I mean, what do you? First of all, what I want to bring up is that we do have that app, www.thecpspunisher.com, and that will do exactly what you were just saying, Robin. It guides you through there. It documents everything for you. It takes everything off. It puts it on a timeline. It will give you case law that's pertinent. I just added a real estate section to it, so now it's starting to learn itself in real estate law and things like that. It basically was built for CPS, but then we broadened it now to criminal, to the real estate law. It's just an all-around app that we're building.
ADA has been hammered hard with that
ADA
thing.
compliance. I can actually show you real quick here, because AI is becoming, it's going to become the leader, and the only reason that these courts are fighting it is because they can't be corrupted with this stuff anymore. Because this thing is actually telling you, you're wrong, Your Honor. You guys are wrong. This is not right. They have no emotion. They got no skin in the game. And what these things are pumping out are just straight up the law. And this discretion is going out the windows. All of this stuff. Now, of course, there's a lot of these. I tell people,
even to know the format from probate to superior to appellate to supreme to federal court. My God, guys, the rules and policies and procedures that they put in place. A court could have a standing rule that you have to apply by. And again, it's so nuts, it's not even funny. And if you're not in the bar good old boy network, you ain't going to go. You're going to go through all that work, and they're going to just dismiss on a technical error. Where, again, my feeling is within the ADA, if you're disabled or perceived, Robin, you got to understand, once you're perceived as being disabled, you are fully guaranteed the protections underneath the ADA.
And that's every person that's under conservator and guardianship.
Right. That's being perceived. Automatic. Yeah. It's by their own policies and procedures.
But the judges and them don't recognize that. They won't recognize any of that.
Well, that's what I'm trying to show, the loop within 10 days. And then you go to the federal court and you ask for federal oversight, and you start claiming fraud. You start allowing the federal government to do the investigation. Because that's the only relief. We know they won't get involved in probate matters. We know they won't get involved in child custody matters. We know they won't get involved in anything unless it's capital murder.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Stephen, do you have any clips from Bernard Black talking about his?
Yeah, I sent you, Darren, the X live from Probate Trap's X feed, or my live feed rather, because
where did you send that? Where did you send it to me? Under the
in our private chat box.
I sent it to you in the
lower
private
left
chat.
corner.
You sent it in the private
Probably
chat.
one of the first things up there. Yeah, it's like one of the first messages I sent. It's two of them.
Because I pulled up one and it brought me to one of your past streams. The https://x.com news for us.
Yeah, that's the one. And just started at.
When we talk about reasonable money.
Hold on, Henry. Hold on, Stephen. Where am I going with this?
Started at the 2-minute and 58-second mark.
Okay.
You can go to Probate Trap.
That's where Bernie's intro starts. At the first 2 minutes, and that's good.
All right, let me put this size up here.
Really, really a good segment. I think everybody should watch that. And I think everybody should acknowledge to what, if a professor is having problems in our courts, we're all going to have problems in our courts.
Right.
I
A
mean,
college law professor
a college.
with 60,000 citations by his peers.
And his wife is a professor, and he's got friends that are professors. It just doesn't end.
No.
And it's I'm so glad he's on our team though, and we're working with Stephen. Oh my gosh, we're bringing all this out.
Well,
All right,
again,
yeah, I'm gonna
what
start
we
this
need to
hammer.
do is bond together and show the corruption. And again,
Yeah, I'm going to put myself on mute.
Sure thing. All right, here we go. Here, 2 minutes and 58 seconds. You said, right?
Yep.
That's 23:56. We don't want that. All right. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's start there. You guys can see that, right?
Yep. I got "Don't miss what happens" on a blue banner underneath it.
Yeah, you might have to sign in or something on your end to watch it.
Thank you for hosting me. And, there's a lot I want to cover. There's probably enough to cover in 4 shows, but we'll focus today on Judge Leith, I think.
All right, tell us a little more about you. Why are you here, and why are you involved in guardianship reform?
So I'm here first as a victim of the Colorado guardianship system in general, and a victim specifically of Judge Elizabeth Leith. And so I want to talk mostly about her, but also I'd say a victim of the guardians ad litem, and the counsel that she appoints and supports, and the lawyers that they hire. I'm here second as a legal reform advocate, as someone who is working with you, with Robin and Luann and others, on what we hope will be serious reform of the Colorado guardianship laws, and hopefully soon other states as well. Serious reform for a seriously broken system. There are many aspects of the guardianship system that need reform, and we won't really get to talk about those today, but I can come back and talk about them endlessly.
Right. Well, let's let you introduce yourself more to our audience. Tell us some about you and about your background.
So I am a law professor at Stanford University, undergraduate at Princeton, graduate degree in physics from Berkeley, law degree from Stanford. And my formal position is the Nicholas J. Chabraya Professor at Northwestern University. And I've got positions in the Pritzker School of Law, in the Kellogg School of Management, and in the Buehler Center for Health Policy and Economics in the Feinberg School of Medicine. So I'm covering law, finance, and medicine.
That is quite a mouthful.
So in other words, he's
you sound like
qualified.
a very serious person.
Oh, beyond.
So I understand you are putting together a lot of research. Tell us some about that.
So I certainly hope I'm a serious person as a researcher. I have been, now fighting Judge Leith for over a decade, but I'm also an empirical legal scholar, meaning I work with data, I work with evidence. A serious one, I dare say I'm a good one. And so I try to use statistical methods to study legal policy, often using very large data sets. And so I care about facts, I care about data, I care about truth, and I think I'm one of the most highly cited legal scholars in the U.S.
Wow.
By highly cited, you're talking about other scholars that cite your work?
Yeah, so there's a process in academic research where if I rely on someone else's research, or I'm building on someone else's research, or criticizing someone else's research, I am supposed to cite them by listing their research in a reference list in my own work.
I see. So, well, just out of curiosity, how often have other researchers cited your research in their own research?
So Google Scholar, which is probably the most comprehensive single source, tells me I've been cited over 40,000 times.
Jesus.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a man we need to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, as the legal scholar that you are, the law professor that you are, and based on your personal experience, do you have an overall opinion of Judge Leith?
I do. Let me not pull punches. I believe she is a terrible judge. She is an awful judge. She ignores every guardrail for how judges should behave. That's a broad statement. The details are critical, and I'll talk about some of them. But for listeners who want more detail than we can get to in this podcast, please go to the Probate Trap website. And click on suspect judges at the top. Right, go to the page for suspect judges. Judge Leith is Exhibit 1, and the Judge Leith page has a link to two main links. The first is a set of 13 statements that you and I put together about Judge Leith that we delivered last month to Governor Polis with a hope that Governor Polis will decide not to renominate Judge Leith. There are statements from me, from you, from others. Please read those statements. Decide for yourself whether Judge Leith is someone you would want to decide the fate of your own family member. The second major link document is a judicial ethics complaint that I filed against Judge Leith last year. It is long. It is very detailed. It has 246 footnotes. Lawyers use footnotes to provide the exact support for the things that they're saying. So it's got 246 footnotes. It cites lots of stuff. It includes a list of Judge Leith has issued 96 orders in our case, and they're all listed at the back. It's been going on and on and on. That's through the end of 2024. There are more that have come out since then. And every footnote, source, every court order, every hearing transcript, every document is available from me. Just ask me, bernardsblack@gmail.com, and I'll send them to you. For me, the judicial ethics complaint is scary reading. It should be scary reading because it tells a story about a judge who ignores the actual facts, makes up her own facts with no evidence in the record, and judges are bound by the record. She ignores the law. She ignores due process, which is the right of people to be heard. She ignores jurisdiction, which is a technical legal term for does she have the power to act? And often she acts without jurisdiction. She decides sua sponte on issues that are not even raised before her.
Mhm.
And always, always, always rules against our family. Just always, always, always. The bias is blatant, it's obvious, and it's meticulously documented in the judicial ethics complaint.
All right, you used a legal term there that I'd like to clarify for myself and for our audience that may not know it. That was sua sponte.
Yeah, so the judges, lawyers like to use these Latin terms. I don't know quite why, but that basically means Judge Leith is deciding something without someone asking her to decide it. She's deciding something on her own motion, and judges aren't supposed to do that. If you decide something on your own, you're necessarily ignoring due process because no one made a motion, no one had an opportunity to respond, no one had an opportunity to provide evidence because nobody even knew that that issue was in the case. And my experience is that Judge Leith will rule sua sponte constantly, over and over and over again. Just for fun in preparing for this podcast, I went back and reviewed my judicial ethics complaint and simply searched for the term sua sponte, and it appears 66 times. That may not be 66 separate rulings, but there are also many instances where she acted sua sponte that aren't included in the ethics complaint because we didn't include everything. It's whatever it is, 40 pages. It would have been 100 pages. It got to where I did my best to avoid an actual hearing before Judge Leith, because an actual hearing was just an invitation for her to act sua sponte. She could do that without a hearing, and she did many times, but there was less risk if she was only dealing with written motions. So we actually got to where we wanted to avoid an actual hearing before her because that was just an opportunity for her to rule sua sponte, rule against me, And beyond that, at least I'm in the case. She also ruled against my wife, who is not in the case. She ruled against my son, who is not in the case. I mean, this is crazy. Judges don't do this. But Judge Leith does.
Wow,
Incredible.
Wow.
that is crazy. Sua sponte. It sounds like the root word of that is would relate to the word spontaneous. Much
Yes.
like spontaneously decides
Mhm.
to rule.
I
in the
agree. I agree with that.
Mhm.
Wow.
Boy, okay,
was-
so Judge Leith has ruled against people without them being brought into the case through a complaint. You just described that. And this is on the basis of a motion. What is a motion in court?
So to get a judge to do something, they're not supposed to act on their own. They're not supposed to act sua sponte. You have to say, Judge, please do something. And the way you start a case against somebody is a document that's called a quote complaint. That's just the name of the document. Once they're in the case, you have to serve the complaint on them so they know they're in the case, if you've heard of service of process. Once they're in the case, then you ask the judge to do something through what's called a motion. Motion to do this, motion to do that, motion to approve, whatever, right? So the complaint is how someone gets into a case, and then once you're in, there are motions.
Okay.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Well, you're giving a lot of information. How can listeners independently confirm that what you're saying holds water? How can they find for themselves?
I think that what they should do, and I hope they have the patience to do, is go to my judicial ethics complaint and read it and ask me about the footnotes. And one thing I want to say about that is I worked with a Colorado lawyer on the complaint. His name is John Gleason. He ran the judicial ethics process for the Colorado Supreme Court for 25 years.
Yeah.
He knows about what is a violation of judicial ethics and what isn't. And he was entirely on board. I think he was shocked about the range of things that Judge Leith did. And all I can tell you is read, it's documented.
Wow.
Well, now you and I.
Darren, can you stop it right there for a
you
second?
all know
Sure.
that the
On that, fact where he's saying he did a judicial ethics, I got an issue on that because if judicial hasn't established policies and procedures for their state underneath the ADA and what is an affirmative modification, what is discrimination, what is, again, technical guidance for the attorneys that are representing people, effective training, ADA advisory committees, this all becomes a waste of time if you're dealing with somebody with a disabled person. And that's why I'm trying to stress this question for judicial canons has to be raised underneath the ADA and brought to the federal level because the state cannot be part of their own discrimination case. Am I crazy to say this, guys?
No. It makes perfect sense, Henry. Absolutely makes perfect sense. Just based on what we're seeing in all the other issues like this of discrimination when it comes to ADA rights and also the probate and guardianship cases as well, and the CPS and family court cases. It's just it's a consistent pattern throughout, and I completely agree. There's a lot of discrimination against people with ADA rights or who are entitled to ADA rights under the law at the moment, even in the school districts, even here locally. I just saw a post by a fellow advocate that advocates for the SPED students out here. Shout out to Anna Binder. She posted something on Instagram yesterday or something. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So, you're absolutely right on that.
Robin, Luann?
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're absolutely right. I think that I think though that at least in Colorado, at least to some of these courts, the problem is that they don't pay any goddamn attention to the rules.
They don't pay
that.
attention to anything.
But they really are so far out of control that these judges feel like they're just demigods that have no accountability to anybody. And you can bring in whatever you want. They just deny it. And tell you you're in contempt and now you're going to jail because you brought that into their courtroom, including the Constitution. I mean,
so
this
basically it's similar to our police department. If they choose to pull you over for a speeding ticket, they have the right to pick and choose what laws they want to enforce. And I think it's wrong when they accept federal funding, 504, ADA, because again, the extent is incredible. Even their federal funding for family evaluations or evaluations, you know, who's paying these doctors to do all these evaluations or social workers, they don't have that option. They have to use the ADA rights. And that's where my argument is going to go federally. And that's where I'm trying to challenge it federally, to take away that they don't have that option of judicial discretion.
right. And that should apply. And that, you know, I think legally that should apply. Yes. My problem is, having listened to thousands of stories, it seems that no rules apply.
Nothing
These
applies.
People do not care if you've got wills, trusts, don't care if you bring in ADA, don't care if you bring in, you know,
Right.
If God walked into the courtroom themselves, they'd say, no, this is my courtroom, get the hell out. I mean,
And it was, I think, in the earlier 2000s, case law came out. Well, basically said, well, the disabled never questioned and said that they were being discriminated, so there is no discrimination. And I find that to be bullshit, because they have an administrative duty that, again, guys, we got to separate, which they know they have no immunity. And then I feel inside the courtroom, Congress never gave them the permission to discriminate. Nobody, no state actor or state player. And that includes bar members, and that includes judges.
Exactly. And in Colorado, since 1988, I believe, there's been something like 40,000 complaints against judges. And I think only 2 or 3 were reprimanded, and they didn't face any consequences. And then if you go to the attorney regulations, OARC.
It's criminal, Luann. It's criminal that only 3 of how many names?
Yeah, 40, over 40.
Reports?
Over 40.
Wow. In Colorado alone?
Yeah, Colorado alone.
Geez.
Colorado alone.
See, that in and of itself, folks, is criminal.
Right now, and also if you go to, if you turn in an attorney, it's like the fox is watching the hen house. You could have 20 complaints against one attorney. They will excuse it almost every time. And we've had some cases go up in front of there, and all of them were saying that attorney did nothing wrong. They didn't violate nothing, and it goes away. Or they backlog that case for months and months and months and months and months.
And then it goes away.
And then it goes away. So
Or they get the right to use their pro bono buddies, because that's how they're burning up their pro bono program, their pro bono hours, by representing other attorneys inside of matters. And I'm like, are you shitting me? That's really how the system is, that you guys are getting away with this?
And I tell you what, if they could do this to a law professor, we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
And I figured that out when they kicked us off our property. I get it, you know. That's why we've been doing these shows for so long, because I'm as pissed as Bernie is, Bernard Black. I'm just as pissed. You know, I've been pissed for so long.
Been for years. I mean, you know, that's the thing.
You might have the right to shit on me, Judge, but a law professor who's well credentialed, who's well established, you're going to tell me he can't make the legal arguments? That's just insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
And that's why I say everybody.
See, this is a most recent example of a pattern that we've seen done to everybody and their brother and sister and mother and father and daughter and children and everybody over the past years we've been involved in this. And it started out because we were mad. But every time we hear another story, we're mad again because they shouldn't be doing it.
And also this video that Bernard Black did needs to go completely viral, and that's what we're boosting up all of our sites to have this go. Yeah.
Now, have you looked at his judicial complaints? Because I was assuming that they use the best of the best case law that shows, again, these judges cannot do what they're doing. And I believe instead of using Colorado law, they would have used federal canons and federal SCOTUS and again, all the stuff.
There's a little more on that later in the interview. He talks about a federal a federal tie-in with some of the courts. So but you'll have to go and watch a little bit further. But it's in there.
We're encouraging everybody, and again, our talks today were hopefully expanding everybody's mind to say start. Not only do you have your regular argument, but I'm also giving you this due process violation that, again, the federal courts are the only place. DOJ, designated responsible employee, 28 CFR 35.107, or the federal courts are mandated to refer you to the appropriate entity for investigations of false claims or fraud using federal dollars.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And I mean, we
got to have some first. That's all this is about, Robin. Right. I'm going to end up being the first. I guarantee it. And again, from my paperwork, it's going to be expanded. And again, God bless anyone that can expand my paperwork, because my brains are pretty racked. And this is what they purposely do. I mean, I had one order saying that I was almost to a fault of my son's disability. How can I be a fault to my son's disability? Are you kidding me? I have to understand it before I can do anything with a competent mind that's in his best interest. I have to know legal rights. I mean, I hit them with case law. Robin, just to let you know, I had in 2009 an MD doctor treating my son for autism, chelation. We found heavy metals in his system, and we wanted him out. We know what heavy metals do. And again, I don't care what anyone says, the MMR shot did it to him. He was double dosed with also the flu shot. And again, me as a fit father kept segregated from my child till he was 2.5 years old. That's just how it is. Yeah. It's wrong. It's wrong. Yep. They got to slow down. And Connecticut this year just passed with all this mandated.
It absolutely is wrong. Henry, I mean, my father being a medical doctor, when he was still in practice, he died in 2002 years and years ago, but when he was in medical practice, that was unheard of to not think of the will, not doing no harm to a patient. And now they just don't freaking care, because you got so many of them that are sold out to the court systems and the guardianships. In my own case, look how
gabapentin on me. That stuff, I'm telling you guys, it's the worst nightmare I've ever had in my life. That's worse than any hard drugs I've ever done. The hardest drugs, and again, booze and alcohol. So, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't get it. Mm-hmm. Look at the whole fentanyl problem we have. Look at the whole OxyContin problem we have. This has all been created by man-made drugs.
Look, can I say something? And I want to ask everybody on the audience to say a prayer for this individual. So my ex-fiance, she's had a drug problem, doing time and stuff, and in the past, and she's currently doing that. And she has an opioid problem right now, and I want everybody to pray for her to recover from that and get sober from that.
Absolutely.
In the near future.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's with Suboxone. So that's a Suboxone. Catherine Lemke.
Okay, we'll say it tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Because I just found this out, but I mean, I really need some prayers out there for her, because
and that's what we're finding.
I want her to get clean from it because I care about her, but at the same time, it's like, do I even want to ever give her a second chance after freaking this being the second time of her doing this shit with the Suboxone?
Even if parents are in rehabs, what we're finding is that they're not given the opportunity to reintroduce the parents to the child as a sober person and work out the problems, the family dynamics of whatever is causing the stress that people turn to drugs in their life or narcotics, prescription. And again, I believe judges are sitting on the bench on some serious fucking prescribed drugs. Let it be high blood pressure medicine. You can't operate a plane and be on high blood pressure medicine. How are these judges at 90 years old still being judges? Like they don't have a medical problem? Come on. We all do. I'm 57.
Can I speak briefly on the medical corruption that's going on, in, not just in some of these institutions, but also in the state and federal prison systems? They do not give a shit about you know, they're not adhering to rights in a lot of cases. I mean, and you know, it's sad. I mean, here's one perfect example that's dear to my heart, that's very personal to me, but I will share with the audience because I think it's important. In 2013, my ex-fiance, you know, she was locked up. I didn't find this out till years later. You know, she was in Vegas in 2013. This was like, yeah, years ago, but she ended up getting locked up. Come to find out, you know, she was pregnant with twins. They aborted the babies without her consent. And she said she woke up in the medical freaking unit, and she said she felt they were gone. So I want people to understand that as well.
I believe it's still going
Not
on.
to mention all the
We
stuff.
have somebody in Georgia right now that her 18-year-old son was stolen. She was never found incompetent of her child, right? Stolen. They said he was in a program, which meant like a DCF, you know, a placement or something to that extent. It turns out they shoved him in an institution and they drugged him up and he ran away. Now he's missing. He's on the fucking streets, an autistic child. And again, they're not.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It reminds me of the Peggy and Dennis Kowalski case that I covered years ago.
First of all, he's 20 plus years old. Second of all, he's not just missing, he's just vanished, gone, zip, zero, zilch. Nobody's seen a picture of him. There's been no trace of him. There's been nothing. He's just nothing.
They're being trafficked. They're trafficking a lot of these people and these individuals that they're doing this to. I believe that. And I believe under the definition of the law, even though it's being done through governmental institutions, state and federal, it's still by definition is a form of trafficking.
With Title IV funding.
Because it is against their will, and they are, especially with the ADA individuals.
And again, the Title IV funding, guys, it's got to stop.
Yes, the Title IV funding, that's where it's coming through.
The Title IV funding, the purpose in 1935, it was to keep the family intact. 100 years later, they've now turned it to where, no, the money we're going to use it in racketeer and pay to our friends who are Title III providers of the program, services, and activities. And how many times have we gone, oh, you're ordered to go to family evaluator. Well, who's running that program? It turns out the attorneys are. You know what I mean? They created an entity, and it's bullshit. So they're getting double dose any way they look at it.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. One of our co-authors, Debbie Carroll, did a deep dive into the funding of Title IV for these kids that are put into the foster care system. And she detailed out how defense contractor companies have contracts to increase funding for government. And one of the things that they do is target families who they can take the children away from, and then they go in and manufacture premises which they can use to get those children away from the parents, and it triggers several federal programs to the one for the parents to go into drug treatment, but the parents also have to pay for drug treatment. One for foster parents to be provided for the child. 6% of that money actually goes to the foster parents, and 94% goes to this mechanism of stealing the money from the child. Money that should go to the child for Social Security is then brought into this system to the tune of about $16,000 a month per fully funded child. And that includes the kickbacks from drug companies that put the children on multiple medications in their new foster homes.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Well, that's like what Melania Trump said this week when she developed that right for people to have accounts if they're inside of DCF care, where we can deposit Social Security checks or child support or anything else. Who do you think is going to be making money? And I think she claimed there was 352,000 people currently in DCF system right now. That's just DCF. I
think it's like $188,000 a year that each one of these kids bring in for these institutions, and it's like, wow.
The Department of Developmental Services up to 400,000, but they give me no supports.
Exactly.
Right.
This is why they have an incentive to make
You guys
parents
should
suffer.
have Debbie Carroll on your show. She's really informative. I mean, she has her 501c3 and she helps kids out that are in the CPS system.
Luann, we're not scary people. We just want to talk. We just want to talk and get to the truth. And then
That's
the
what we're
truth
doing.
comes out, and once it's out, there's no putting it back in the bottle.
There's no, absolutely not.
That's right.
And my man Darren, you're quiet tonight, man. You usually have
I'm just
pissing
listening,
vinegar
brother.
and writing
Listening.
away and taking down
Well,
notes.
well, listen. What was that lady's name again, Luann? Debbie who?
Her name is Debbie Carroll. She's with
Considerationonprofit.org.
yeah.
All one word.
She did our
Consideration
chapter
nonprofit.org.
9 in our book, I think it is, the Foster Care Empire, but she has all statistics on everything. She's really
cannot
good.
wait for this book. This book has been killing me for 9 months.
Well, ours has been 9 years, so I get it.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I don't have a book yet. I ain't smart enough to write about myself. I'm gonna have to hire Steven to do it.
There we go. We got the.
Oh, don't ask me. I don't want to go through another book. I don't want to go through another
Yeah, I got work. I'm good at it, folks, too. Trust me.
We get back to you. Yeah, we got. Where can you guys get your guys' book?
It's yet to be published.
It's coming
Oh, yeah,
out.
Okay.
It's in the 3rd revision on Fiverr. Of course, we've heard that a while, but it's really close. There's the name of the book.
It's The Probate Trap, How Families Lose Fortunes, Freedom, and Loved Ones. And it details the probate and family courts and how families are just defrauded of everything, including their loved ones, homes, and bank accounts by these unethical actions in courts.
My family is woven in through the whole first chapter, and it tells you what a guardian is. It tells you the whole thing.
It illustrates what can happen, and it illustrates what does happen through actual stories of people that we have met and talked to, and some of which we've needed to fictionalize to keep them from being retaliated against. But it's all based on truth. Every story is based on true stories that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And that book should be out. We're hoping we can get it out within the next month or so.
2 weeks.
On Amazon, and hoping to have it in bookstores throughout the nation as well.
So this will also give you insight to like some of the dirty tricks that they played on people.
Oh yes,
it's some of the stories that are in there that family's been through.
On just how the mechanisms of fraud that they're using work, so that people can understand, so that a person who reads this book is going to go into court with their eyes open, so they'll be able to see it coming before they pull these cards out of their deck,
and they'll say,
and understand what they're up against. And sometimes that is what it takes to be able to be prepared to counter their moves. I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to, thwart all of the things that these courts do, because these are some unethical people.
Well, look at what they're doing to Mr. Black. If he can't stop the train of discrimination, then who can?
That's exactly what we're trying to.
And I tell parents, it's not you. You've been pulled as a number for some God reason. They have it out for you. And I think it's as simple as, well, this attorney won this case last week. I got a big high client that's willing to pay big dollars. You know what I mean? So let me win this case this week. Has nothing to do with the merits.
Luann, what were you going to say?
Yeah,
Luann, you were saying what?
Do what? What did I say?
What were you saying right there?
I don't know.
You don't. All right.
Well, I was going to add. That the to be able to specifically say this judge is on the take is a very difficult thing, because you have to make all of those little ducks line up to show the financials that lead to that conclusion, and they have to be factual evidence. And that's a very difficult thing when somebody's working very hard to hide all of the evidence around everything that the courts are doing.
And Bernard Black also talked about it, how trying to go after a bunch of people for RICO, he goes, it's really, really difficult to do.
And the only one who can do it is an attorney. You can't do it as a non-attorney.
Right. He said even the attorneys have a hard time doing it. So that's another big problem.
Not to mention the flashback that you get from that. Like you start going after a judge, you start putting them on blast. They're putting you back on blast too, tenfold.
Yeah.
So you got to be very cautious when you're starting to do this stuff. You need to pay attention to what, it's no joke. What we do is no joke. And I want to reiterate that to people because they think that it is, whatever these people, but it's not. Us putting our faces out here like this, us putting our names out on things, it's no joke. And they will come back for you. They do that. I mean, it's just, you want to call it a coincidence or whatnot, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 of my associates since my house has burned down has either lost a kid, have died, have something else or something along those lines happen. Call it a coincidence? I don't think so. Maybe 1 or 2 is coincidence. 8 of them, start to think a little bit.
Yeah, we've coincidentally seen a lot of the advocates that we've known that have had to flee the country or died under mysterious circumstances, and this what you're watching, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of people that are willing to put themselves on the line to bring you the truth about what's going on, because you need to know to be able to protect yourself, your family, and our society collectively. So please don't undervalue that gift.
And most of all is our future generations, because if they're doing it to us now, think about another 30 years where they're going to be at.
Well, if they're doing it,
rights.
Henry, the whole thing is this: they're trying to do it to us now so that they can control them. Because if we get knocked out, then who's coming up behind us? Nobody. They're ready yet to take these reins. There's nobody that's willing to do this stuff. That's why we're here and we are. Like this, there's not enough people that are prepared to make that next step yet to make it a valiant push forward. So all we can do is continue to educate and continue to make notice to people like, look, this is what's going on, and to try to rally up the people in this country.
Well, and that's why that's also another reason we're going to be having Kate Litvak on. She's also Bernie's wife is going to come on and talk about what happened to her as well, and she's another scholar. So this ought to be very interesting.
Now, in 2012, are you guys familiar with the ACC, which is the GAL little rink that they all belong to as a GAL, and then they give kickbacks to the judge for assigning them? So we flushed it out in Connecticut in 2014. We brought all the evidence, the whole 9 yards. We hammered them, supposedly probate reform, all this. And that's where, again, Bernie was like, oh, probate reform. Man, when does it become stop this probate reform and hold people criminally accountable underneath the laws that they're misusing federal dollars and they're violating the civil rights of people? Because I know my own case, Judge Avery Whetstone, she was the #1 contributor to the Children's Law Center through their hobnobbing freaking fundraisers. It's like, are you kidding me? How's that possible? How can she even have that entity in her courtroom practicing being a #1 contributor to them? So when I say turn over stones, guys, turn stones over to start looking for the connections.
Right. And Bernie also expresses how we have to do some research just to figure out how far this thing is. There's no statistics right now how many people are really under guardianship because the cases are sealed in many states.
Or how much money is
they
controlled.
They have no idea how much money, but I bet you it's in the billions. Absolutely.
Trillions.
Yeah, I agree.
Billions, trillions.
I think it's trillions.
Absolutely.
Just like he said, the financial officer gets X amount of dollars to review and control a state. Well, I believe when they're stealing these estates that they're also getting paid some kind of financial oversight.
Oh, that's another thing that we must approach in this show, is that we are heard by Janet Phelan, who was an investigative journalist. She just passed away in January. She said that a lot of these judges are getting their mortgages paid off. Then another one we heard
at an unusually accelerated rate that does not match up with the salary of a judge. In other words, they take out mortgages, and those mortgages miraculously get paid off much more quickly than the judge by any right should be able to afford.
And some of these agencies now, there's a 501c3 they could do the same thing through, because they get donations by people. It could be anonymous people.
Well, the AFCC, we've proved it. The AFCC is giving kickbacks to the judges for assigning GALs in their courtrooms.
Yeah.
So this goes in really, really, really deep, and so that's why there has to be some kind of research going on, and that's what we are gearing up for. And I tell you what, we've got a lot of people coming involved with this. So
And that's the kind of evidence too that we're looking for to be incorporated into the probatetrap.org, and that Bernie Black is looking to incorporate into the body of data that is at agrri.org. What we're building is bodies of data that, because in the data you can find the patterns, and in the patterns you can find the money, and in the money you can find where the money flows. And when you understand where, how, and where, and to who the money is flowing, you can often find the people responsible. And those people are often bending the rules in ways that we can hold them responsible for. So this is the strategy: is send us your data. If you happen to have 10 stories about a judge from different families, send us the information, because that will be on our suspect judges page. We'll listen to those stories. We'll evaluate them ourselves.
You have to remember that
we'll look at the information. We'll look at the evidence. And next thing you know, there's one more person that's on that suspect judge's page that's now publicized to all of the network of people that we're working with to get the word out. You guys, to AGRRI, to News for Us World, to the people in California we work with, people in Florida we work with, people in New York we work with.
One of our investigators, Becca, she has quite a comprehensive list that she's built. It's almost got 1 million views on people that are sending her information about the judges, about the GALs, about different questions. I'm sure that she would get in touch with you guys and get you that information, because she's just been stockpiling it for her own purposes, just in case, but whatever. But she's got a ton of information on this stuff that she's been stockpiling. Like the same, she got a form that you fill out, so it's all the same stuff. It's not random. It's all this stuff. I'm sure that she'd be willing to get out to you guys.
That would be fabulous.
If I'm overstepping my line here, but I think CPS Breaking News would be a great resource too for you guys to vet some of your information through, so that again, I would say, maybe we can give you guys a section on the probate trap or a section on judges in our little, so you guys just update automatically as your information and technical guidance is getting updated. And it give you the platform to reach out to more people, because again, if we don't start coming together and bullshit, man, I ain't gonna take down the system. I ain't like that.
Instead of asking, it's time that we start showing people how this is done. I think
and the thing is the judges are allowing all this to happen. This is why we have to start we're not going to go, and we're not going to go to one judge and do anything. We're just going to put out the information we have. We don't want to cause any problems. We just put out information that all these people are having complaints in the same courtroom. What's going on with that courtroom? And it's
right.
And it's very disturbing of some of the people we talk to about going into certain judges, and they're like Bernie. I mean, he's been fighting for 10 years, and he's a scholar. Oh my God.
He's the one that people turn to when they want to understand the law. And and his grasp is deep, to the point where I misspoke earlier, 40,000 times he's been cited by peers in their own legal research, because his research is so impeccable.
Oh, he's impeccable.
This judge, he says, this judge is just not following what a judge ought to follow.
Mm-hmm. It's been amazing working with Stephen and with Bernie, and his wife, and Sear. We also have Rick Black. Rick Black is another national advocacy group who's been with us for at least 10 years. And so we're all working together to bring out all this information.
CEAR.
Yeah, Centers for Estate Administration Reform, or something.
And again, any way we could figure out the kinks in their armor, I don't care, because I've heard it from one gentleman and it pissed me off. Well, I have the solution. I have the path, and I ain't sharing it with nobody because I'm not going to let them screw it up. Listen, the sooner we start asking the same questions in every 50 states, they can have, like the ADA, 50 different opinions, guys. This is why I keep going back to the ADA. You can go to the Ninth Circuit and you're going to see the Ninth Circuit ruled appropriately. But then when you come to the Second Circuit, which is my circuit, They're burying the whole ADA because they know they don't want the modifications into courtrooms because they don't want the strictest scrutiny put on them.
Right, right. And it is a way of sorting through what courtrooms actually follow the law and what courtrooms aren't following the law.
Yeah.
When we apply different laws in different situations in different courtrooms, then it gives us data that then can be brought out, taken out of that, collaborated and collated and promulgated to people so that we can all see, oh, this is a corrupt judge. Oh,
Yeah.
that judge is pretty good. You
Yeah,
know?
we also have, hopefully in the next day or so, I got to call up tomorrow. We're going to have a gentleman named of Dave Wilson, I think it is, that's running for Attorney General, going to be on our show. I got to get him booked. We also have a senator coming on that's running for senator in Colorado. So hopefully we can have Bernie probably come on with this and talk to him about what's going on as well. We got a lot of things that we're going to be doing on the
trying
show.
to set up right
The
now.
probate trap.
Well, yeah, well, good. We definitely want to help you guys with that. We would definitely want to help you guys pump that information out. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So let us know so that we can stream at the same time with you guys. And again, this is about family. And again, just no one entity. I don't care if it's Connie, Jessica, us. I don't care who it is. If you're putting a kink in the armor, we need to know that weak spot so all of us can focus across the country and get this going right.
Well, I'm really glad to have met you guys tonight. And I tell you what, I tell you the beginning of your shows are great with all the illustration and
Oh, that's Darren. He's got skills.
you got
Deep admiration and respect, man.
yeah.
Thank
You and Steven ought to get along real well because you both are like, wow, you know.
It blows my mind, Luann, with the capable. Until I met him, I didn't use even Google Docs. I didn't use any of this stuff. This guy's made me come out of my shell like no tomorrow. And that's what we need to keep doing to everyone, pushing them out of their comfort zone to push the right agenda.
We have been doing that. We have a lot and lots of advocates because of our shows. They have come out and they're doing documentaries. They're putting their stories out, and we're going to take them. We're going to find out what's going on. So
I had people that came on our show who were like, I'll sit in the background, won't say a word, don't want to talk, don't put me on camera, but I want to listen. And then in a few weeks, they're like, I want to talk. I want to say what I'm
out here. Yep.
You know, and
we have hundreds of those, and we're so glad to all those
courage
people.
breeds courage. When people see that others are willing to stand up, others are willing to put their face out there and their names out there
Absolutely.
and speak the truth right out loud, then they go, well, shit, why am I cowering in the corner?
Right.
I'm getting out there myself.
That's right.
Anytime you hear somebody say, oh, I got a CPS case on me, everyone thinks right away. Now, when I look at the TV and I see an Amber Alert, because that's the only time you see an Amber Alert, the father is getting
we already know
his kid because the kid is being abused by the mother, or it could be by the father. And again, either or I should say the opposite parent. And it's bullshit where, again, why isn't the Amber Alerts being issued on all these kids that run away from DCF? Because, again, according to Kathleen Arthur, I think there was something like over 100,000 ghost children just in DCF care.
There's more than that.
And every time we hear those Amber Alerts, we already know that it's a CPS.
That's a parent that stole a kid from their back from CPS. That's
they're trying to get their kid back. I tried stealing my own mother back. I get it.
Yep.
And again, you don't want to be labeled to your peers as something bad, but the courts do it purposely to segregate you from your society because they do not want you interacting with the society while they're taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what? What's really sad is that they're taking our elderly parents
And our children.
and they're putting them they're warehousing them in these nursing homes. And they keep them in dirty diapers. I mean, it's such a crisis of what's going on.
Listen,
you know
it's no better here because in Connecticut, I just got finished dealing with women who can't even boil eggs. They don't even know how to appropriately clean fruits. They throw it in the bottom of the sink. Are you kidding me? After you just cleaned your chicken, we have culinary rules here. You know what I mean? Use the dishwasher, sanitize. So it's, again, I'm not putting people down, but these people have to be sort of like Trump's order of English speaking and again, on truck drivers It's common sense. If you're giving people American written language for medicines in detailed care, these people can't comprehend it. What are we doing to our elder?
Yeah, and to our veterans, it's so.
Oh, veterans! Oh, don't even get me going on
my
that.
God,
Oh,
they
dear
will
God.
take a veteran out of a veteran nursing home and put him in a regular nursing home so they can continue to take their veterans' pay.
It's,
And
Even
nursing,
though a veterans nursing home is free for the veteran, they'll take their pay and pay for a nursing home.
there's a gentleman in Connecticut that, if you guys are big on veterans, I would love to hook you up, because he's proven the Department of Developmental Services underneath RBI waivers is denying every single one of these guys so they can get the RBI waiver, sort of like they do with intellectual disabled, and then now they're up to $400,000 a year. But they won't even give this poor veteran a roof over his head if that's all he needs to live community inclusion.
such a crime. I think
It's
it's
such
such a crime. I mean,
Yeah,
and
that's-
our parents, you know, that went through the war and they did all this stuff before everybody, then all their estates are being stolen one after another. I just hate it. I just hate what's going on in our nation.
I think it's underneath the false claims, guys. We got to start following the money. And if Bernie's listening now, you know, I would love to have him say, you know what? I want to also follow the money. Where's all this federal funding going to the courts? Where is it going to the program services?
Well, I'm telling you, his
Who's
research
benefiting from
program,
it?
his research program is going to do a lot of that stuff.
right.
And I
that's-
can't say exactly what's going to happen right now,
Yep.
but I know some shit's really going to come down. That's
And
what
the-
I know.
and the
That's all we
data,
ask for, Luann, is hope. Every
And-
parent out there, I don't care if you're a child or a parent who's lost their children, or you know, in my opinion too, is a parent's job never ends, even at death. Your parent is still your parent. Who the fuck is the state? Absolute harm and neglect to separate you from your parent.
I know. I was separated for 3.5 years from my mom, and I tell you what, we got her back. And there's only like maybe 5 or 6 families that have ever got their parents back, or their uncles or whatever. Maybe 10 now, tops, out of the whole nation.
out of thousands,
There's
we know.
something wrong with that.
Statistically
Okay.
speaking, it's impossible without
Yeah.
corruption.
But I got my mom back, but the estate was not. It suffered terrible damage.
course. Mhm.
And so, but I was glad to have my mom back, you know. And
Right.
and you can't be with them when they're passing away. What the hell's wrong with our society anyway? What
Yeah.
the hell's wrong with that?
Oh, instead, they want a stranger allegedly holding the hand of the person that's dying instead of
Oh,
a
and
family member.
then they charge the family high visitation rates. $750 an hour to go see your mom, $300 an hour to see your mom, and they have a gun pointed at your head. So don't talk about to your mother anything about the case. Don't mention anything about probate. Don't talk about anything. And they watch you
Don't talk
do
about
this.
your mother's care. Don't talk about the food in the place. Don't talk about anything that has to do with her care or how she's doing or your case or her case. None of those things may you talk about. And
Well,
then
they'll label you as a
It's no
disgruntled,
different in
and then they'll
CPS.
say you're
It's the same
disturbing
playbook.
her peace.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Playbook. It's the same playbook. Same exact playbook when you're with
It
your
is.
children in CPS cases.
and
Same-
then they say, no matter what happens, your mom says, "Listen, can't you please get me the fuck out of here? I hate this place. Can you
Right.
please get me out of here?"
No.
And you have to say no, and I can't tell you why. And they're like, "Please, please don't leave me." And then they say, "Oh, look, you're upsetting your mother. You can't come visit her anymore."
no more
And then
visits.
they go to the court, and
No
then you
more
get a
visits.
permanent restraining order on you. You never see your parent
And
again.
it is said that you were jeopardizing your mother. You were a hazard for your
It's
mother.
all in our book. The whole thing gives the
Yeah.
whole playbook in our book.
And don't forget, ombudsmans are a waste of time, because again, they're supposed to be the ones that are mediating the care in an institutional setting, and they're not even following their own laws and regulations themselves.
Bingo.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So why are we wasting the money on these people? It just doesn't make sense. Where is the federal
Well-
accountability of protection and advocacies? I just don't get it.
Well, I do believe that people really need to start working it out with their own families. Hush, hush. Don't cause any problems. But you know, a lot of that's not going to happen.
No.
You know, and they build their cases on squabbling family members. They did it on mine. Try to get along. try not to go through a court when you get a divorce. Don't go to court. I don't care what it is. Stay the fuck out of it. Period. You know,
That's it.
that's what I have to say. You know,
I agree.
Is there anything else that we can wrap up and start wrapping up the show? Because it's 10:57. We've been at it for 2.5 hours, and I think it's been a great night. And again, I want my guests and your guests to know how to find us. You know, we can find us on CPS Breaking News, Equal and the Same, or Tiff and Punisher Show, or Gunning for CPS. These are all hot topics where even Gunner, guys, he's challenging at the federal level right now the constitutionality. You got to read his briefs. That's all I'm going to say. Is even if Mr. Barry would take a look and see what we're looking at and showing that we're going as the constitutional canons are being violated by state judges.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the highest law that they have to follow next to SCOTUS.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know, and I just want everybody to know that if you have a trust or will, powers of attorney, God bless you. They might not hold up in court, you know, and everyone thinks that they're 100% bulletproof. Don't even think that for 1 minute, because a judge could overrule them in less than one gavel. That's it. That's all it takes.
Yep. Change your life forever.
And that's your one courtroom from disaster. Remember that.
Yep.
And it's true.
Wow. So again, you want to give out all your website information, how people can get a hold of you guys if they want to join maybe a program down the road and get scheduled in, or meet up with Steven, get a documentary. You know, we're here for you guys anytime. That's my opinion.
You could go to the probatetrap.org, probatetrap.org. We're on Rumble, we're on Facebook, we're on News for Us World. We're on X. We're going to get some more channels put in there, but we've been so busy with everything else. We've got a book coming out, and you can find us at F.A.C.E.U.S Radio, F.A.C.E.U.S Radio at hotmail.com. You can find us at Probate Trap at proton.me. You can always find Luann Fleming or Robin Austin on Facebook. Message us in case you need some help with, you know, that. We don't give advice. We just tell you what you're up for. You know, we're not attorneys. Don't ever want to be an attorney, you know. And we just have to, F.A.C.E.U.S Radio at Hotmail. That's a really good, and Families Against Court Embezzlement, Unethical Standards, F.A.C.E.U.S is up on Facebook. So we got a lot of information to put out there. And if you're having troubles in the probate court, get a hold of us. I'll give you the whole guardianship abuse playbook, tell you what to expect, and we'll go from there.
And we'll soon have a list of people that want to pre-order the book, and we'll get that out to you. You could be one of the first ones to get your copy of that. Also, if you want to have Steven do a documentary for you, his prices are incredibly crazy low to do that. And you can contact him through us. You can go to F.A.C.E.U.S Radio at hotmail.com. Say, I'm interested in Steven doing the documentary for me. Right. Can you send me a price list? Can you give me information?
The price list is usually $200 for a 15-minute video, $400 for a 30-minute video, and 45 minutes for $600, which is unheard of.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm gonna get mine done too as well, and put that up on the Probate Trap. But follow us on the suspect pages on there for the judges.
Yeah, go to the
We're going to be adding. We have a
Look
lot
at the judges
of information to put on there.
There's news stories there. There's podcasts there. We intend for it to be a resource for legislators that are looking at the way that laws might be affected, for individuals that are doing activism that need to know what the background is. We're hoping to get court cases and news stories that illustrate the various points of the law, so that this becomes a resource for everyone to be able to use. And we want to network with others that are paralleling and duplicating the work that we're doing, so that there's plenty of resources to everybody throughout the nation and the world who are facing these problems and facing these predators, so that you never have to face them alone.
Right.
Now, before I let you go, you guys brought up one good point. On the legislators, what are you guys doing to assist, or is there anything that you guys have a pathway in regards to this year's upcoming? Because it's currently, obviously, we're all waiting for the war to end so we can get Trump's attention, get Congress's attention again on the family matters. But I mean, do you guys have any hopes for July and August of anyone you guys know that have any good bills that might be coming in, or are we at the same boat where we're nervous about midterms and everyone doesn't want to do anything yet?
We have a big PR team out here called Dovetail Solutions, and they're putting together all kinds of stuff for us. So
Repeat that again. Dovetail Solutions.
Dovetail Solutions is helping us right now with the assistance of Bernie Black. We are reaching out to news media. We've got a whole campaign going on. But our main thing is to start removing some of these judges that are causing the problems in our courts. And they need to follow constitutional rights. They need to follow due process. They need all that.
Constitutional canons.
It's not happening. So we're going to start, looking into the judges. We're going to start looking into all kinds of things. We have a PR team. We do have news agencies that I think will be picking up our stories. And of course, our book is out there too.
And who knows what's going to happen? We are in a position of hoping that we will get to the position where we feel we can feasibly and viably work with legislators that will work with us.
And that's what my hope is. Through building a phone roll, I wrote a bill about the ADA that accompanies, her rights of people's remedy. And again, I'm hoping that tone roll is going to get fired up soon and get these legislators' attentions, because it all comes back to Doge and the federal fundings that are being abused.
Yeah, right. we work with Toll and Roll too. We are affiliates of theirs as well. So we're very well connected with a lot of groups. And now we have you guys. We just love you all.
I've been blessing this family meeting for so long. I've been wanting it since January, Luann, because I think you guys are a great team, and what a powerhouse. You guys complement each other so great. I can't say I'm married to Darren, but his better half is Mary. She's in the background. Don't worry about it. Sort of like you, Robin.
We're definitely married to Stephen at this point in time. I mean, we've had more meetings with him than we could have with anybody.
We've sure got a mutual admiration society going with you guys. We appreciate what you're doing, and we are grateful that you asked us to be a part of your work, and we thank you guys.
And we'll come back on whenever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Darren, take us backstage. We can bullshit for a minute off record, and let's go for it. Guys, the Probate Trap, catch it. These guys are a powerhouse, and I think they're bringing a lot of attention to what's needed in this country.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for being my first Back to It show. Hold on, we're going to go backstage.
Bleeding pages unfurled, freedom crushed by their darkened world. We're warriors, we're writing a new creed. No backing down, planting the seed. Stand up, heads high, screaming tonight. Rights ain't paper, they burn, but fight. Chains of their greed won't hold us long. Through their lies, we'll prove them wrong.
The CPSpunisher.com is the app they never wanted you to find. If CPS is knocking at your door, intimidating you as a parent with police standing there waiting for you to talk back so they can arrest you and steal your kids, stand strong, tell them you want to see their warrant, they will leave. Lessons like these can save your family and are exactly what the CPS Punisher assists you with. If your lawyer isn't fighting for your child, now you can research anything and everything, so you can be educated on the most up-to-date case law and court procedures. The CPS Punisher has more tools than Home Depot when it comes to recording data from your CPS case. Whether you need a timeline, log your visits, ask a question pertaining to the ADA, The CPS Punisher has it. Never again will CPS have the upper hand when you have the CPS Punisher. Visit thecpspunisher.com.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stop the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they mightest feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children